Welcome everybody to the NBA Deeper Dive. I'm Alex Baker, joined today by Ship My Money DFS, also known as Adam Scherer. Adam, how you doing?
Doing good. Excited to be back to a full slate. Short slates have been kind of frustrating for me lately, so excited to have a lot of games to talk about.
Yeah, yesterday was a crazy one. I mean, if you didn't have certain guys like Larry Nance is like we spent all day like talking about how he wasn't going to play, and then all of a sudden Tristan Thompson plays 24 minutes.
Right.
Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Were you affected by the Gary Trent 3-pointer that he took for absolutely no reason at the end of the game?
No, was he in the winning lineups? Because I thought he was wasn't doing that good.
He he actually, I think in the big $15 on DraftKings, that shot jumped a train in the first. Um yeah, just at the buzzer, uncontested, down by like 25 points, he just knocks down a three.
You hate to see it, man. That's I just say that because of the train. Hopefully we can get some unique lineups today with 10 games. Um, Pretty interesting slate, I'd say today. Like we got some big injuries to work around and a lot of question marks. So I'm just gonna lead off with this game. I think it might be the most intriguing of the night. The Clippers at Miami. A little bit of a slow pace matchup, but Jimmy Butler is questionable. Kendrick Nunn is questionable. Grand Dragic is questionable. So we have no clue who's playing in this game tonight.
Yeah, they came out really early with their injury report yesterday, and it doesn't do us any good because it's just a bunch of questionable guys, and they all kind of play the same position. So it's really really tough to talk about because if Butler is out, aside from the obvious usage impacts, from a minute standpoint, you would get more minutes for Nunn and Dragic, but they might not play either. So really hard to talk about at this point, other than to say whichever of that group ends up playing benefits if other parts of that group are out.
Definitely, yeah. Hopefully, we get a gift from the fantasy gods and get an update at 5:30 on the injuries there. Some other interesting situations. We have Andre Drummond. He is a game time decision with a mouth. I'm kind of wondering now, like, did he run his mouth? Is that just like a code word?
Yeah, he's
Uh,
had some weird injuries this year.
yeah, definitely. Let's not even talk about avocados.
Right.
And then the other big injuries, we have Jason Tatum out. He's the highest usage guy on the Celtics, so that's got to spill over to a lot of other players. And then Malcolm Brogdon is out. So maybe we have a TJ McConnell night. It worked out so well for all of us the last time TJ McConnell started that we just got to go back to the well, right?
Yeah, it worked out especially well for Josh that day.
Oh my gosh. Josh was just reminiscing about that before the show.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah, he swapped on the TJ McConnell last minute and maybe off a winning lineup. But it should be a pretty interesting slate. We do have a game currently going, this Milwaukee at Charlotte game, if you guys played the early slate. So the first game tonight is Boston at Orlando. As I mentioned, Jason Tatum's out, so Boston could be pretty intriguing. Enes Kanter also is out. But you combine this with a pretty tough matchup. Orlando, one of the teams you loathe to target in fantasy because they play at such a slow pace and not a bad defensive team. So how are you handling these Celtics today?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting spot because with Tatum being out, obviously there is more usage to go around. He's one of the highest usage guys on the team, and Stevens generally staggers minutes for his guys anyway. So that's why you see so many productive players out of the core guys on Boston. But it is a slow Orlando team. It is a very good defensive Orlando team. So I think that whereas in probably like 2/3 of the matchups Boston could be in, we'd be looking at guys that I consider priorities. To me, it's more secondary options with Kemba and Brown both. I think being fairly priced, but there being some other guys around them I like a little bit more. Same goes for Gordon Hayward, who on DraftKings now is up to 6,800, which I prefer Jalen Brown to him. Jalen Brown's a higher usage guy than Hayward, pretty much no matter who you're looking at being on the floor with him. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different because Hayward's still really cheap, as is pretty much everyone on the site. But Kemba and Brown, I think, are the two most appealing, but they're still secondary options to me. And looking at our projected ownership right now, we have Jaylen Brown on DraftKings as the second highest owned guy on the slate. I don't think if that's the case that I'll get there. I'd be more interested in taking some shots on like a 10% on Kemba.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that $900 gap in salary probably explains it. But the second most popular guy of the night. Maybe if it's a night where there's a lot of good players, but not any like great players, like you can get an edge in fading them. But as you mentioned on FanDuel, these guys are way cheaper, especially Brown and Hayward, but also Daniel Tice. Now Daniel Tice is a guy that he's averaging 22 minutes a game over the season, but as Cantor's out. On the other hand, I mean, this guy fouls at an alarming rate. For anyone who's rostered him. So how are you handling Tice today?
Yeah, I mean, I have Tyson for 30 minutes. I think that my assumption is that they would like to play him as much as they can because with Cantor out, you're dealing with a true center in Vooch. And with Cantor out, your other options are, Taco Fall or Vincent Poirier or Semi. So I would think that they want Tice to get as many minutes as he can handle, but he does foul, like you said, and it's pretty tough to go north of 30 minutes on him. So that's where I'm at on him right now. On DraftKings, it puts him at a spot where he's kind of just there. He's not underpriced and he's not significantly overpriced, in my opinion. On FanDuel, the pricing is a little bit better, but there's still a lot of really good power forward options that you can go to. So with it being such a slow game and a tough defensive matchup, I'm not really that interested in Tice.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. So he got like a preemptive price jump here. So even though the injury should benefit him, it's kind of hard to land on him. He does average 6.5 fouls per 36. So definitely a guy that on average won't play quite as many minutes as you hope. Taco Fall, almost an all-star this year. I mean, that's getting way too cute, but maybe later in the season.
The craziest thing I found out today was that he weighs 311 pounds.
Tice?
Yeah,
Fall.
Taco Fall.
Wow. That is quite a large sum. That's like two of the rest of us.
Right. Yeah, but like he's skinny, so I was really surprised when I found
that is interesting. Maybe a good NBA player down the road, but not quite there yet. Okay, so Grant Williams, he's a guy that started when Tatum was out, but I'm projecting him to kind of be the backup five. But as you mentioned, there's a big gap between him and Vooch, and they're going to be on the floor at the same time, a decent amount, I imagine. So do you think that this matchup versus some smaller centers could be a good one for Vucevic?
Yeah, I think that Vooch is more interesting on DraftKings than FanDuel. Center's pretty deep today. You have a lot of guys that I think are in good spots and maybe have something working in their favor that they normally don't. But Vooch stands out at his price point because he's at a different price point than guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Nikola Jokic, two guys at the top that I really like. You have Vooch here for a discount. And since coming back from his injury, he's played 20 games. He's averaged 1.32 fantasy points per minute. He puts up rates similar to Jokic as far as getting rebounds, getting assists, and being a high usage guy. And while Tice is a competent defender, it's obviously not the same Boston interior that we were seeing in previous years with Horford. And then behind Tice, you really have nothing to match up with him. So I do think it's a good spot for Vooch. He does stand out as one of my top guys from Orlando. I think it's between him and Fournier.
Yeah, he's really productive, and he's been getting the minutes. The usage has been up with I've already moved on from Jonathan Isaac. I couldn't even remember his name because he's been out for a while. But Fournier, I know you mentioned him in your article as someone that could benefit from them being a little bit shorthanded with no Augustine, no Isaac. And I did notice last game he played 3 shifts in both the first and second half. Seems like either Gordon or Fournier plays big minutes, and you just gotta flip a coin. Do you like going back to those guys today?
Yeah, I like the salaries on them. Neither one is someone that I'm in love with in tournaments because it is still a quality defensive team in Boston. It's still not. It shouldn't be a high scoring game. and they're not great per minute producers, but I do think that they're a little bit underpriced. You have Gordon for, I think it's 5,600 on FanDuel. You have Fournier on DraftKings for 5,600. Fournier played 36 minutes last game. He had his minutes staggered, so he was getting time with the second unit. He's out there playing with Michael Carter-Williams, Terrence Ross, Kem Birch, and Mo Bamba. He's going to get his shots up. He's the second highest usage guy on the team behind Vooch. So I just think that salary is a little bit cheap for his median projection. But again, he's not necessarily the most volatile guy. So still probably not someone that I'm jamming into tons of lineups.
Yeah. He is pretty well priced on DraftKings in particular. FanDuel, though, man, you can just load your rosters these days. They're really trying to bring in the NFL crew. And I got to mention SuperDraft as well, because they're the sponsor on SuperDraft. If you're not familiar, you don't have salary cap, you have a multiplier. So you get whatever Fournier scores times 1.65 tonight. Probably one of the higher multiplier guys is actually like a pretty good NBA player. So that would be someone I look to. They have a 10K guarantee contest today. So they've been overlaying a little bit too. Make sure to get in there. Use the promo code AWESEMO. I believe, let me just, I don't want to flub this because I know that we have
I got you.
Deal there.
$20 in super cash on your first $100 deposit.
Okay, awesome. So definitely take advantage. Get a free $20. That's a pretty good ROI there. So, all right. Markelle Fultz with no Augustine. He's been averaging 32 minutes a game. They haven't really been pushing him as much as you hope. Is he someone on your radar tonight?
Not really. Just not a very appealing game, and there are a lot of point guard options for me. So it's not really a price point that I'm really interested in either.
All right. So yeah, pretty bad matchup, but a couple of good plays in this game because Tatum being out. And next game is Memphis at Detroit. Still have a big question mark in the form of Andre Drummond. So I'll start there because Memphis is a pretty high-paced team, and that's going to bode well for the Pistons. And especially if Andre Drummond's out, there should be a lot of usage and rebounding to go around. Last game we saw Thon McCour start. He played about 23 minutes. Christian Wood played about 25. Much to the chagrin of the fantasy owners of Wood, who was the chalk that day. But if Andre Drummond is out, would you expect to see a similar split?
Yeah, I would expect it to be similar, maybe like 22 for Thon McCour, 26 for Wood, somewhere in there. We've seen Dwayne Casey be pretty hesitant to give Christian Wood tons of run. He's obviously really productive for the minutes that he is on the floor, but I would expect the playing time split to be similar.
Yeah, so what that would result in is maybe Thon McCour would be a decent value play, but not really great. Christian Wood, on the other hand, if you put him in for 25 minutes, he stands out as a guy that is cheap and playable. So do you think you'd land on Wood, or because he's coming off the bench, would you expect that 25 to be a little bit high?
Yeah, I would still end up getting there because his price isn't quite as appealing as it was last time when he was only 4K. But as of right now, at least, pricing on this slate's pretty sharp. On DraftKings, obviously, not on FanDuel. So he would still, relative to the rest of the slate, look like a pretty good value if I gave him 25 or 26 minutes, because Memphis is a fast team. They aren't a good defensive team, and Wood is greater than a fantasy point per minute guy. So obviously, in a perfect world, you would get him, like playing 30 plus minutes, and I don't think that'll be the case. But even if he gets 25, 26 minutes, he looks like a pretty good value if Drummond is out.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'd be one of the better of the slate. We just got some breaking news. The Mavs traded Isaiah Roby for Justin Patton. So if you know who these guys are, you're a diehard NBA fan. Probably no impact on tonight, even though Justin Patton has been playing a little bit. But that's kind of interesting because it shows like maybe they're trying to get some center depth now that Dwight Powell's out for the year. Anyway, I guess that was kind of a non sequitur at this point, but Markieff Morris, you mentioned in the deep dive today, which is free today. So if you're not a member, make sure to check that out. But he started the last game, surprisingly, over Sekou Doumbouya. And if he starts again and plays, maybe he averaged about 30 minutes as a starter at the start of the season, but I'm expecting that to go down a little bit because they do seem to want to get Sekou Doumbouya a lot of minutes. but still a pretty good value. What do you make of this this power forward rotation they have?
Yeah, I'm expecting Morris to start again since he did last game. Obviously, it could change, but he was playing around 30 minutes per game. I think giving him 28 to 30 minutes makes sense here, assuming he starts. He's still cheap enough where he ends up being a pretty decent value. I think he does get a benefit if Drummond is out because the rebounding numbers for him should go up. If Drummond is in, then you're relying on Morris more to be a scorer than to contribute anything in the way of peripherals. So that would make a big difference for me as far as Drummond being out. But one way or the other, I think Morris is a good value, whereas Wood is entirely dependent on Drummond.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that he'll be playable regardless. And then we got D Rose, probable All-Star. Now that Reggie Jackson is back in the mix, though, I don't really expect that to have an impact on Rose's minutes, but it could. Do you think there's any threat to Rose there?
I think I wouldn't say threat. I think that it makes it a little bit easier for Dwayne Casey to keep Derrick Rose around 30 minutes if he wants to. We still saw 30.1 minutes from Rose against Sacramento, and that was with 5 minutes and 40 seconds not being played because it was a 20-point game. So he wasn't on pace there to play fewer than 30. He was still on pace for a bunch of minutes. I have him in for 31 or 32 minutes right now, 32. I have Jackson playing a few minutes alongside him. So I think, going forward, maybe it cuts into Rose a little bit, but it's not like they have a good two guard. So they could very easily just play more Jackson alongside Rose as Jackson gets healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Over the past few years, we've seen more Rose at the two, so that's definitely a possibility. Jackson, though, still working his way back. He had a big game last game. The price is up, so I'm not on him. Just got a super chat from Mike Fong, so thanks, Mike. He's asking any tips for randomness on FC. How do you use the percentage in order to gain the most leverage? So how do you handle randomness in FC? And then I'll give my answer.
I base it based on the standard deviation for each player. So I basically try and set it up so that it's factoring in, one standard deviation one way or the other for each player that it projects.
Yeah, so you can access my projections for standard deviation in the Boom Bust tool if you want to implement that. But my advice is more general. If you use a lot of randomness, which varies the projection you use when building your lineup, you're going to get a lot of lineups that aren't very good. So you can use more randomness to get more unique lineups. But the more you use, you just got to eliminate some of those weak lineups. But overall, if you have time, you can up that randomness. All right, Memphis, a team that's a little bit harder to pick from today because they have a full squad. But Ja Morant, budding star in the league. Jonas Valanciunas, I mean, that guy, pretty hard to predict, but if he's going up against Drummond, that could be a good matchup. What do you make of these Grizzlies?
Yeah, I think that Valanciunas is interesting in tournaments just because he's such a volatile player. He's a really good per minute producer, and this is a good matchup. It's a Detroit team that is bad defensively. If Drummond plays, he's not a good defender as is, and it would give Memphis more reason to give Valanciunas more minutes. If Drummond doesn't play, then you're in a better rebounding spot for Valanciunas, and his minutes have been up lately. He played 26 minutes against Boston last game. That was a game that wasn't competitive, so you didn't get full run. 21 minutes the game before that against the Pels. That was a weird game where New Orleans was basically just playing 5 out with Nicola Melli at the 5 and just shot Valanciunas off the floor basically. But prior to that, 32, 28, 29, 30 minutes, you'd seen the minutes trending up. So I think that if you give Valanciunas around 28 minutes here, he projects as a pretty decent option for me, given that he shouldn't have much ownership.
Yeah, definitely someone that it seems like the minutes are all over the place, but there's some method to the madness because they really don't like playing him against those stretch fives. So Drummond being a basket or close to the basket guy should be a good matchup for him. So a GBP play for sure. All right, guys, we got a special promo going on. You can use the promo code LIV, which is the Super Bowl we're on this year, of course, and get a month of all access for $54. So if you're not a member, make sure to take advantage of the promo code LIV. And I also read something really interesting on our Osmo NBA handle. We ran a poll that asked, do you use an optimizer to make lineups? Only 40% said yes. So I know a lot of you guys out there I talk a lot about FC and like kind of my process, but a lot of you guys aren't like using all the software and stuff. So it's kind of opening my eyes a little bit. And we do have subscriptions kind of to help players like you out if that fits your bill, like hand building your lineups, making a few a night. And we have these express passes. They're about $6 a week, and you get access to the rankings, the deep dive written by Adam, and my game plan show, ownership rankings, and the lineup builder. So that's a good like starting step, and you can get half off that for the first week using the promo code Deeper Dive. So make sure to take advantage of that. Next game, we got Toronto at New York. Toronto, a little bit frustrating this past couple weeks because everyone's been coming back from injury. So we got Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet pretty much fully back, but their minutes aren't quite up to the season-long averages of 35 and 36. We're seeing more in the low 30s, although VanVleet did play a lot of minutes last game. Lowry also, his minutes have been down a lot. He's only averaging 29 over the last 5 games. I think some of these numbers are a little bit fluky, but what do you make of the situation?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit fluky too, but at the same time, you do have pretty much a fully healthy team now for Nick Nurse. And while he does tend to run tight rotations, there's at least a chance that he's intentionally cutting back minutes a little bit. So I think that, I'm not giving – I have Lowry at 37 minutes. I have VanVleet at 38, but I'm not going higher than that, which, had been the case at some points earlier this year. I think that it's obviously a good matchup against the Knicks, but there are a couple things that stand out from how the rotations have looked. For one, we finally got 34 minutes from Pascal Siakam last game. Prior to that, he had been playing around 29 to 30, but there had been a game or two where it seemed like that was a result of blowout. And so it was good to see him finally get up to 34 minutes. He's someone who before his injury was playing 36, 37 minutes in competitive games. So I think his salary is a little bit lower than it probably should be, given that he's back to playing close to full minutes. The other takeaway that I had was that pretty much 100% of Kyle Lowry's minutes are coming with Siakam on the floor, which isn't really a bad thing for Siakam, but for Lowry it is. He's played a little over 600 minutes alongside Siakam this year. He has a 20.3% usage rate. He's averaged 0.92 DraftKings points per minute. So on top of his minutes maybe being cut back a little bit, he's also, at least based on the rotation that they've been using, playing in like the least productive situation for him possible. So that's not something I was really happy to see with him, and it lowered his projection for me a little bit.
Yeah, so some warning signs here with the rotations, and it is kind of weird because Toronto for the longest time have been running like 8-man rotations, but this last game they were at 10. Now Patrick McCaw is out for this game, and that did make a little bit of a difference in this past game where that shortened their rotation to 9 guys. But what another result of that was that Fred VanVleet came into the game way earlier than normal, so maybe you see more minutes for him. But the matchup isn't that great versus the Knicks. Not a great defensive team, but not a high-paced one either. So how do you rate these Raptors among the other options on the slate?
Yeah, I think Siakam's the top one for me because he's appealing on FanDuel since he's a small forward, and then he's appealing on DraftKings just because I think he is one of the better price guys on the slate at only 7,700. So he stands out. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot from Toronto that I really like that much.
That's interesting because I'm not really landing on Siakam. If put him at 34 minutes, one of the things is his usage has been a little bit lower since coming back from the injury. The minutes haven't been up to 35, but if I put him at 34, he's just about average value. But Lowry does stand out as kind of a good option, and OJ Anunoby, he's real cheap for a guy playing 30 minutes a game at 4,100 on DraftKings, so that's the one I'm considering. But I think the other side might be a little bit more interesting because on the Knicks, we've got RJ Barrett out, and he's replaced by Reggie Bullock in the starting lineup. That's creating a little bit more usage for Marcus Morris, Randall, and Payton. So these guys stand out as maybe some decent plays on a team that isn't very popular these days. How are you rating these Knicks in a little bit of a tough matchup versus the Raptors?
Yeah, tough spot against the Raptors. I think Randall's the guy that I'm still most interested in. He's just really productive. He's a 1.25 fantasy point per minute guy. Over the last month, his usage rate's up to 29.5%, but even for the season, it's up around 28%. So it's not like that's really surprising. And in competitive games, you're getting 34 plus minutes from him. Only a 105 total for New York, which I think makes sense given how good the Raptors are. Marcus Morris's price tag has come up. He's still playing big minutes, played 36 or 37 last game. Normally, you've been getting 33 to 34 in competitive games, maybe a little bit of a usage bump without RJ Barrett, but I think pretty much just I think status quo for Morris, where he projects for me for around 30 points, which is kind of just there at 6K. Like he'll be in more than 0 lineups for me, but nothing that I'm really excited about. So Randall's really the only guy that I think looks particularly appealing from the Knicks.
That's interesting because I'm actually getting into a lot of these guys, like Morris, as you mentioned. I'm projecting him to have pretty good usage with RJ Barrett out. The price is reasonable. And Alfred Payton is a guy that, as chalk, always disappoints because he's such a volatile player. And Dennis Smith is back and potentially siphoning some minutes at point guard. But he's kind of on my radar because it seems like you never know how many minutes he's going to play in a game. Like it could be anywhere between 25 and 35.
Yeah, I think Payton would be my, I guess, third guy behind Morris, but pretty similar to Morris, where at 5,500 he certainly does have some upside there. He contributes in multiple ways. Not the highest usage guy, but picks up assists. He can rebound a little bit. So I think Payton's fine.
Yeah, I think these are all GPP plays, of course. The Knicks not being a very good team, but some guys that jack up shots, and that helps you win some tournaments sometimes. So this next game is one that I saw you mention on the deep dive. This Atlanta OKC game. Trae Young, he seems to always be a little bit more popular than I think he should be. So I'm gonna pull up his ownership projection right now, but his price is down a little bit at 9,400. Pretty much a healthy squad for the Hawks. So I don't see any reason to really project him to do better than average. But what are you making of the situation?
Yeah, so I think Trae Young, he's only projected for 7% ownership on DraftKings right now, and he really stands out as a good option to me because I think he's underpriced for his normal production. He's someone who normally is going to play 36 plus minutes as long as the game's competitive. He's averaged 1.36 DraftKings points per minute this season. The only real concern I would have would be that with Jeff Teague there, if Atlanta's looking to limit his minutes a little bit, they very easily can. But in the last game he played 39 minutes and Teague was there for that too. So I have him in for 35 minutes here. I think that there's certainly room for him to play more than that. And while Oklahoma City has been a good team defensively, I do think it's interesting that they have struggled to defend pick and roll ball handlers this year, which isn't something that I put a ton of stock in from a DFS standpoint because there's just so many things that are more predictive. But when you're talking about the guy that leads the league in pick and roll possessions, it does make me feel a little bit better that he's facing a team that's in the bottom quarter of the league and defending it as far as efficiency goes.
Yeah, so it's like an interesting stat to look at. Kind of like how do they fare against each play type. So that could be some way to determine if a guy will be above average or below average on a given game. So that's an interesting insight there. The rest of the team, they're kind of priced as if Trae Young won't play, so I'm not really landing on anyone. But do you see any diamonds in the rough here?
No, the rest of it is pretty ugly because, as you said, priced for him not to play. You got a huge price jump on John Collins, who has like a 26% usage rate without Young on the floor compared to 22% alongside him. So that's a pretty big deal. You also had Bruno Fernando start last game. So I'm assuming Collins is getting fewer minutes at the 5 now. Pretty much everyone is priced up as a result of Young being out last time.
Yeah, so not a Hawks for us, it sounds like, other than Trae Young. On the Oklahoma City side, I mean, much better matchup versus Atlanta. Just a bad defensive team that plays at a high pace. So they're projected for one of the highest point totals of the slate at 120. Very high for them. Steven Adams is questionable. If he is out, maybe we see a good price on Nerlens Noel. And the other guy that's out is Terrence Ferguson. So we've been seeing Lou Gentz, Dort start. But Schroeder has been playing more minutes, so he'd be kind of the guy I'm targeting based on that injury. Who's your go-to guy on this Thunder team tonight?
The number one guy for me is whoever's starting at center, whether it's Adams or Noel. I think that both of them are very fairly priced, 6,300 on DraftKings for Adams, 5,100 for Noel. They both are in a spot where they should be able to produce well. Beyond that, I think Chris Paul is my second guy, Gallinari right there with him. Basically, it's just a team where the main five guys, the four starters plus Schroeder, excluding Dort, all look like good options because they are all relatively cheap. They're all high usage guys, or in Adam's case, a good rebounder, and they're playing the second fastest paced team in the league over the last month. So I think that Paul's a little bit cheaper than Gilgeous-Alexander, which gives him the edge there for me. Gallinari is pretty inexpensive as well, and Ford's not quite as deep as the guard position today, but I think all five guys are good plays.
Yeah, I think they all stand out as above average because of the matchup, so I like them. I noticed on Super Draft their multipliers are off the charts here. Chris Paul at 1.4, Shea at 1.35, and Schroeder at 1.55. So you can really take advantage on Super Draft with some of these Thunder, even though they're not going to be at the top of the list of fantasy points. So they're scroll down a little bit to find them. But I tend to favor the higher multiplier guys there. All right, guys. So we got a giveaway today, free NBA monthly pass. So if you don't have a membership, make sure to take advantage of this by going to the Osmo_com handle. And it's our pinned tweet there. You just have to retweet it and predict who will score the most fantasy points tonight. So not too many studs on the slate. So I saw a lot of people guessing Harden. Maybe Trae Young could be an option there. Or maybe if you want to really mix it up, you could go to Zion Williamson. If he produces at the rate of last game and he gets a few extra minutes, man. This is like the worst transition because I don't think he's actually like a great DFS play tonight. But do you think that you might have some Zion tonight?
No.
Yeah. All right. So they're playing the Nuggets. That's a bad sign right off the bat. He only played 18 minutes last game. So I'm putting him at 22. Very low volatility in that situation, though. So you can't really get upside there. And I don't think his 86% true shot is sustainable, but it should be fun to watch him play these first few games. But on Denver, there's some injuries that are worth noting. Gary Harris is back. Of course, Jamal Murray is still out. So we've been seeing a lot of Monte Morris starting. Michael Porter Jr. is questionable. Probably highly questionable tonight because he only participated in parts of shoot around. But his price is really high, and Gary Harris coming back is a bad sign for him. Finally, Mason Plumlee's out, but they've really, really jacked up Jeremy Grant's price to the point where it's just like way too high. So I'm not really landing on him. But I know Jokic was a guy you liked a lot last time the Nuggets played because without a center backup, maybe he gets some extra minutes. We did see him go out and play 34, which is a lot higher than his average of 31.5 on the season. So you think you're going to go back to the well on Jokic here?
Yeah, I still like Jokic a lot because, you mentioned that he played 34 minutes last game. He also missed the final 3 minutes of the game to blowout. So it was good for me to see that he was on pace for 37 if it were a really competitive game, because I expected his minutes to go up without Plumlee, and they did. He also still, you get Harris back, but he's not a really high usage guy. Jokic will still benefit from Murray and Millsap being out. So I still think he's over a 30% usage guy in this situation. He also is going to be a high assist guy. He essentially is running point for this team. He triple doubled last game, and just watching the game, Morris maybe brings the ball up or Jokic brings it up, but even when Morris brings it up, he kind of just flips it to Jokic at the top, and then Jokic runs the offense. So should be a lot of opportunities for him to pick up stats here. And then it's also a fast-paced New Orleans team. 5th in pace over the last month, could actually start playing a bit faster, even with Zion back. And they're not a particularly good defensive team either. So a lot of stuff looks really, really good for Jokic for me.
Yeah, I think Jokic is a great play tonight as well. Should see a lot more assists without a real point guard they like in Denver. But everyone in the chat is being critical of us because we haven't talked about Jaylen Brown being out. That news came through about 8 minutes ago. The Celtics official injury report. Jaylen Brown being out. So now we got to really reevaluate the Celtics team. Kemba Walker, Hayward, and Smart all seem like pretty appealing options here. I'm having trouble finding another guy to really love, though. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think so. Kemba, like there should be plenty of usage for Kemba and Hayward without Tatum and Brown. The thing that concerns me though is that a lot of times in situations like this, it's like, in a perfect world, the usage would be there. But what happens a lot of times is the offense just becomes really inefficient, especially against a team like Orlando. So, I think that obviously Kemba is a better play and Hayward especially is a better play without Brown, but it still kind of scares me this spot. I think there's a chance that they just don't play very well. If I'm looking to a secondary guy, and it's always really, really difficult with Brad Stevens because he uses so many of them, but Javonte Green has kind of been his like go-to bench guy recently. He is only 3,100. Certainly not someone I'm putting a lot of my night on. But if I had to, throw a dart at one of these bench guys from Boston, I think Javonte Green's where I would look.
All right, I'm pulling up on NBA Wowie the stats of everyone without Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So, of course, these guys have played most of the games, but Kemba Walker over 200 possessions, 28% usage. Actually, that doesn't seem particularly high. But Gordon Hayward's at 26% usage. Smart's at 22. So if he actually ends up being close to that, he's going to be a really good play tonight. How much do you weight these kind of on-off splits?
Yeah, it's always really tough because especially with a team like Boston, because Brad Stevens staggers minutes regularly. So a lot of times if you are like taking off certain combinations of guys, you can get really weird results. I think it's important to view them kind of logically. Like taking Jaylen Brown off the floor shouldn't like Gordon Hayward has a 26% usage rate without Brown and Tatum on the floor. There's a really good chance that's because a lot of those minutes came without Kemba Walker as well. Like taking Jaylen Brown off if Kemba's on shouldn't lead to a ton of assists for Hayward. So, the usage should go up, but I think it's important to keep kind of to view stuff logically, and especially when you're looking at limited sample sizes, what you think should happen, and make sure that if the numbers don't make sense, you're noticing that.
Yeah, pretty solid advice. That's why it's always good to have information on like if the guys miss the whole game. But unfortunately, we don't have that, so we gotta make the best we can out of the situation. So I went back to last year's, or this Kemba Walker's stats in general. His peak usage was last year at 31.5 over the season, and he was a little bit less efficient, but not remarkably so. So I think he's probably a guy that, even though the stats don't indicate, he'll see a usage bump. I think we can see a pretty significant bump. And really, there's only like a few guys on this team that can generate their own shots, and these guys are going to soak up all the usage here. So I really do struggle to find anyone other than the starters here, though.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Like I mentioned Green, and it's basically just as like a dart throw, low percentage guy. But yeah, it's Hayward and Walker should be the biggest beneficiaries. Smart as well. It does just concern me that it's less spacing, it's less just offensive players for Orlando to focus on. You talk about a team that has Aaron Gordon. So like a conversation we were having in Slack, Aaron Gordon's a very, very good on-ball defender. If you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, then obviously there's multiple guys for Orlando to be concerned about. Now you basically have Kemba Walker for Iwundu and Aaron Gordon to deal with. So I think there's a decent chance they just end up being really, really inefficient.
All right, so hopefully we get some information on that with the Vegas line shift. I imagine it'll be a few points. We also got the news on Detroit and some news from Sacramento. So I'll start with Detroit. Andre Drummond is out. Bruce Brown is also out, but Tim Frazier is back, so he might soak up some minutes, although it might be hard to fit him in with Reggie Jackson also in the rotation here. So if we put Thon McCurr at 23 minutes and Christian Wood at 25, those guys both stand out as good plays. What else do you make of this news here?
Yeah, so I would expect it's basically the same as last game. I'm not expecting Tim Frazier to play. So Svi should be in the starting lineup. He played 29 minutes last game. I would expect to get around 30 for him. Should get 28 to 30 minutes from Langston Galloway. One thing I did just notice, kind of going back and looking at that game, Thon McCord did get to 22 and a half minutes. He played 3 minutes at the end of the game when the bench was in. It was him, Domboya, Lewis King, Jordan Bone, and Svi. So I think if you get a competitive game, maybe you get closer to like a 28-20 split for Christian Wood.
Yeah, that would be nice, but we have 2 games where this didn't work out, so I'm very wary of over projecting Christian Wood here. One thing also I'd point out is that same could apply to Markieff Morris, because maybe they do prefer Sekou Doumbouya, and they're trying to start some of the guys they like to play off the bench instead of having them on the starting lineup. But hopefully we'll get some more information about that after this game. Tony Snow also played a lot of minutes last game, but that guy is someone to avoid in fantasy. So then the other news is that Bogdanovic is starting tonight over Buddy Hield. I'm kind of curious if that means Buddy Hield is out, because that is an unusual development. But we will get to that game in a little bit here. All right. So going back to Denver, are there any other guys besides Jokic that you're interested in tonight?
No, not really. Like you said, Jeremy Grant's price is bumped up to where I'm not really that interested. Monte Morris takes a hit in terms of usage whenever he's playing alongside Jokic. Will Barton would be the second guy for me. He's more appealing at 6,200 on FanDuel than he is at 7,300 on DraftKings, but you are getting a lot of minutes for him. He also gets some minutes with the second unit, which is nice. So he looks okay, but Jokic is the clear priority for me from Denver.
Nice. On the other side, New Orleans, pretty tough matchup, and Zion coming into the lineup should reduce the usage for all the guys. So none of them are really standing out a lot to me. But do you think you'll have many Pelicans on your team tonight?
Probably not a lot. The two that look the best to me are Ingram and Favors. Ingram, basically, no matter who you put on the floor with him this year, he still has a high usage rate. If you just look at his minutes with like Lonzo and Drew Holiday, he still has a 28.9% usage rate. In his first game with Zion, he had, I think it was a 36% usage rate. So he still looks reasonable, but the price tag is still kind of expensive. And then Derek Favors, not a high usage guy, was in foul trouble last game. Otherwise, I think would have played more minutes. And now you're dealing with Nikola Jokic, so you're going to want Favors to play as much as he can. So I think that those two are the guys I like the most, but in the context of the entire slate, I think I still get they're not priorities for me.
All right, sweet. So the next game, Houston has a great matchup versus Timberwolves. So we've been seeing Russell Westbrook just crushing night after night. When will it stop, right? Or I guess maybe if you have him tonight, you don't want that to happen. But his price is at a season high, 10.4K on both sites, 1 multiplier on SuperDraft. So I'll start off with Westbrook because he's on the hot streak. Do you think there's any way you're going to pay that price tonight?
I think it's still an okay price. It's it's not so much his price that I have an issue with. It's more that like he's $1,000 more than Trae Young, and you're getting a very similar ceiling. But one thing I did think was interesting was it makes sense that as the season goes on, you would see teams start to more consistently force the Rockets to beat them without James Harden. If you go back and look at the last 10 games that Harden and Westbrook have both played, Harden has a 32.8% usage rate compared to 35.2% from Westbrook. So, obviously there's no guarantee on a game-to-game basis that's the case, but you are seeing teams more consistently kind of get the ball out of Harden's hands. And outside of the games that Westbrook misses, the usage for Harden has been a lot more volatile than it was earlier in the season. So I think there is at least a reason that Westbrook's been doing better. And I think that he's an okay play at his price, but when you look at the guys around them, again, I would rather save $1,000 on Trae Young, but you also have Jokic, Towns, Leonard, all similarly priced that I think are a little bit better.
Yeah. So the price jump may make him not the most appealing in the bunch. But Harden and Capella, they have pretty reasonable prices tonight. Do you see yourself favoring those guys in your DFS lineups?
Yeah, I think that Harden will be really easy to get to now that we just got so much value in the last few minutes. I was having a little bit of trouble with it on DraftKings earlier. FanDuel, he's like 10,800, so it's obviously really easy. But now you have that value from Detroit. You have the value that we got earlier on Chicago with Thaddeus Young. You have the potential Boston guys that are relatively cheap. So it shouldn't be too hard to get to Harden, and his salary has really come down. So, I mentioned that his usage in games Westbrook plays has been down recently, but you're still talking about a high usage guy and someone who's going to have some absolutely monster games. So I think that as long as his ownership doesn't get too out of control, he's someone that I would like to go to because I do have him as the highest scorer on the slate.
Nice. Yeah. Hopefully with the new value we can get to him. Even although I'll mention that some of these guys really aren't as cheap as you'd hope. There aren't any real 3K guys that are really standing out. I saw that Patty Mills is getting ownership because it's like that range is so low. So that was kind of interesting to me. On the Minnesota side, it's been a little bit harder to roster these guys, but Houston is a pace team. So the Timberwolves are projected for 115 points, which is pretty good. Do you see yourself maybe taking Towns for the first time in a while, or Wiggins?
Yeah, I think both of them look good. Towns played 31 minutes last game, but he played 35 minutes the game before that. He was in foul trouble last game, so my takeaway is that he's back to his normal rotation and his normal run. He's been a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy this year. It's a game with the highest total on the slate. So all that looks really good, and his salary is affordable. Obviously, between him and Jokic, you have Jokic for a little bit less. So I would give a slight edge to Jokic if we're not worried about ownership or anything. But Towns does look like a really good option. And then Wiggins is pretty cheap as well. He's been a lot better with Towns on the floor this year. His usage is similar. His assist percentage is similar. But the big difference is that in 560 minutes with Towns on the floor, his effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage are about 7 points higher than they are without Towns. So he goes from averaging 0.99 points per minute to 1.12. Good matchup as far as pace goes, and I think it's a pretty affordable salary for Wiggins.
So yeah, Wiggins stands out as a pretty interesting play for the reasons you mentioned. The minutes seem to be a little bit down on some of these Timberwolves compared to the season average, but who knows what it'll be going forward. The price seems like a bargain. All right. So, sorry guys, I lost my train of thought here. Clippers at Miami. Let's just come back to this game last because I feel like without any more news, it'll be hard to break it down. Sacramento at Chicago. So the news here is Markkanen is out for a few weeks, and because of that, Thaddeus Young is is the most popular player of the slate in our latest ownership update. I mean, that's got to scare you a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, he is really cheap. I do expect 30 to 32 minutes from him, and he's a reasonably good fantasy producer. It would be one thing if he were like $1,000 more, but as is, I think he looks like a pretty good option, especially because Sacramento is not a very good defensive team, and they are playing at a faster pace since De'Aaron Fox came back as well.
Nice. Yeah, so I think that he's probably a good chalk, but that ownership is pretty alarming. I think he's pretty safe to play 30 minutes though, and he's not like some low usage guy. He has almost 20% usage on the season, so could definitely put up some points here. Some other guys might benefit from Markkanen being out. I mean, Markkanen and Thaddeus Young don't have that much different usage though, so it's more minutes I'm looking at. I think that Cornet and Felicio were losing some time combined to Markkanen and Thaddeus Young lineups. So I'm projecting Luke Cornet to be kind of interesting tonight. Do you think there's any way you take a chance on Cornet?
I was actually thinking I might take a chance on Felicio. I mean, I'm interested in the starting lineup here. Felicio started the second half against Minnesota. Cornet played a total of 6 or 7 minutes in the second half. If Felicio starts at 3,500, I don't mind taking a shot there. Right now, I have them both in for 24 minutes. Felicio last year was about a 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute guy. Obviously, we don't need the value quite as much now as we did earlier, but if he does start, I think he's a decent value.
I have a bit of different take here because I think that Cornet, he was in foul trouble in both the previous 2 games in the first half. So I'm just guessing he got benched for just bad performance. Of course, that could translate to a different starting lineup, but Felicio's a guy they just like have shown that they don't want to play at all. So I'm pretty down on him. But if we don't get Cornet in the starting lineup, I wouldn't play him. That's true.
Yeah. Felicio closed that game too. Or almost closed. Marketing closed the center, but Felicio was in until there were 3 minutes left.
All right. Do you think this news affects Levine that Markkanen's out?
I think it's a little bit of a usage bump, but not too much of an effect. Levine already was, the guy offensively, and as you mentioned, Markkanen's not a particularly high usage guy, pretty similar to Thaddeus Young. So, not a big difference for me. I thought Levine was a decent option before, and I still think he's a pretty decent option.
One thing I'll throw out here is that Cornet's defensive rebounding is only 12%. And then Lauri Markkanen's was 18%, but I'm expecting Thaddeus Young's not quite as good a rebounder as Markkanen, but I do notice that over the last 5 games, Zach LaVine's defensive rebounding rate has spiked about 50% more boards than on the season. So I think that you might see some more production on the rebounding for LaVine. So I think that's something to have some interest in. And then Satoransky, he's been benched a few times, so his price has gone down. But do you see yourself taking any shots on him?
It's pretty much Levine and Young for me. Like Satoransky's really cheap, but the minutes just haven't been there. And Kobe White's been stealing some minutes. So outside of tournament filler in a couple lineups, I don't really see it.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the stealing minutes because if he's having a good game, he'll get the minutes. So I guess on average, maybe not as exciting. But on the other side, we got one of the chalk plays of the day, Dwayne Dedman. He played big minutes in the last game with no Marvin Bagley. Do you expect that to be the trend going forward until Bagley's back?
I mean, it really scares me because we've seen Luke Walton just kind of make changes to his rotation on a whim all season long, especially when it comes to Dedman. But he did play 31 plus minutes against Detroit, and that was a game where Drummond wasn't in, which makes me feel a little bit better. It's not like you had to match up with Drummond. Now you obviously, this is a game that could certainly go small with Chicago, but I have Dedman in for 28 minutes right now. I think that at his salary, it makes him a good value. Not like a must play or anything like that. He's a 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy for the season. His usage does drop, as you would expect when he plays with De'Aaron Fox, as is the case if he starts. So I think he's a good play. He's not someone that you have to have.
Yeah, and I think also the matchup isn't bad for him because so he's more of a floor stretching 3, and Cornet is as well. So I could see them playing Dedman a pretty good amount here. What do you make of this Bogdanovic starting news?
I think it hurts him and helps Hield. The minutes probably go up for Bogdanovic. Like instead of getting 26, he probably gets like 30 to 32. But he's played, I don't have it here anymore, but he alongside Fox this season, he has like a 17% usage rate. So he's someone that I think really benefited from leading the second unit and having the ball in his hands a lot. And that's not going to be the case playing with Fox. Whereas, you're going to get Hield now with the second unit. One thing to mention with Hield, though, because I saw people in Slack saying that, he could really go nuts off the bench, which he could, but we do have a pretty big sample of him playing without De'Aaron Fox, and not much really changes because he's not great at creating his own shots, and the usage is there one way or the other. So I think it hurts Bogdanovic. I think that Hield loses some minutes, maybe gets a little bit more usage.
Yeah, I'm not too crazy about either of these guys either. Bogdanovic on FanDuel though at 4,600, that's a pretty good price. So you take him there. And then Fox and Bielitsa kind of round out the squad here. Would you have interest tonight though?
Bielitsa has gotten really expensive on DraftKings, so not really interested there. If the game goes small, he would be getting center minutes, which would be appealing, but he's just at a price point where I can't get to it. Fox, I think, is okay, but I would rather get to Zach LaVine on the other side of this game if I'm going to that price range at guard.
Okay, cool. Phoenix at San Antonio. San Antonio has been one of the better matchups for opposing teams this year. So, but the Phoenix is pretty much healthy with the exception of Aaron Baines being out. The prices don't seem particularly good. Aside from a couple on FanDuel, like Ricky Rubio at 5,700 and Saric at 3,600. Is Phoenix going to be a team you target heavily tonight?
Probably not. The pricing on Rubio on FanDuel is insane. I have him as the number 1 point guard over there. But on DraftKings, they're pretty expensive. DeAndre Ayton's playing big minutes, barring foul trouble and blowouts, without Aaron Baines. So I think you can put him in for around 36 minutes, but he's still, more expensive than Vooch, for example. And then Devin Booker's price tags come up as well. He's been playing really well recently. A 33% usage rate over the last month is certainly appealing. Especially after, at the beginning of the season, we were seeing him kind of lose production with Ricky Rubio on the floor, but there's still just, a ton of options on a 10-game slate. And the pricing here just isn't quite as favorable as I would like.
Yeah, same. Guys, apologize for the little glitch here. I'm frozen, but I don't think anyone's watching from my mug anyway, so I'm sure no one will really hear. The other side, one guy I want to mention is Saric, because value on this slate, you might need it. He's been kind of up and down, correlating to some of the injuries on the team. What do you make of his role on the team these days?
His minutes just really concern me because it seems like whenever they have the chance, they're just not playing him a lot. Like when he was getting a lot of minutes, they didn't have – they were missing multiple guys. They were missing like 36 minutes from Oubre. They were missing, I think, Baines at that point too. Last game you got 32 minutes from Bridges. You got around 20 from Saric. So it's just really tough for me to confidently give him more than 20 to 24 minutes.
Yeah, 24, if he got that, like he'd be kind of in play. But on a 10-game slate, that's not the most exciting, I suppose. So on the other side, I did mention that Patty Mills seems to be like surprisingly popular tonight. The main reason is he's 3,500, but do you think there's any way like he would be in your lineups here?
Not at a high rate. Like he actually, I noticed when I was making like my dummy lineups for it was either the late slate or the turbo slate on DraftKings, he was in there, but obviously you're cutting a bunch of games out for that. In the context of 10 games, I don't anticipate getting to a lot of Patty Mills. I have him in for 22 minutes, but those minutes are not guaranteed. Like they could be more, they could very easily be less too. You're just seeing San Antonio rotations be absolutely insane right now. So yeah, it's certainly not something I'm getting to a lot of.
Oh my goodness, we got more news here. Tony Snell is also out for Detroit. So wow, they are really, really shorthanded tonight. But does that mean that Langston Galloway is going to get a start tonight, do you think? Or what do you make of that?
Yeah, I would think Galloway starts. They could start Sekou at the 3, but I would guess it's Galloway.
So does this push maybe more minutes on Tim Frazier and then they play Derrick Rose off ball or something? Like
they could. I think you probably get like 36 minutes for Svi. You probably get like 34 or something for Galloway. Sekou probably picks up a few extra. So like instead of, 20, maybe picks up like 24, 26.
I'm kind of going through the rotation now, and I think it does kind of benefit Markieff Morris and Sekou because like these are guys that could flex down to the 3 and run some bigger lineups. And they don't really have any bench guys other than Frazier that can come into the rotation here. So, yeah, I think that you can play Langston Galloway at 3,800 or Markieff at 4,800 now. Man, this is next thing we know, they're going to be out though. So that's why it's so important to keep up to date with all the latest news here. So back to the game here, San Antonio. I know you mentioned that you were a fan of DeRozan in your article, the deep dive, which is free tonight. So if you haven't read it yet, make sure to check that out. He's 7,900 on DraftKings, 82 FanDuel, and he has a 1.4 multiplier on SuperDraft. So what are you looking at with DeRozan?
Yeah, I think it's just a good salary for him. He started off this year slowly, but he's been playing really well. He's not being hurt by DeJounte Murray being in the lineup anymore like he was earlier in the year. Over the last month, he's averaged 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. His usage rate's up around 27.5%, 28%. The assist percentage is in the mid-20s. So that all looks really good, and the minutes have been there too. He's coming off a game where he played 36 minutes. You're pretty consistently seeing 34 plus as long as the game's competitive. And I just think that with DraftKings just doing such a good job lately of pricing guys up, it makes DeRozan stand out a little bit more that he's pretty affordable.
Yeah, definitely. I think that pretty good price tonight. And then we got some other guys. Kind of LaMarcus Aldridge has been real popular, but I guess his salary must have gone up because I remember he was in the 6Ks. Now he's 8K on both sides, basically. And DeJounte Murray is a classic guy to lose money on. Just never gets the minutes you'd hope. Do you think you'd have any Aldridge or Murray?
Aldridge, yeah, he looks decent. I still prefer DeRozan, but Aldridge's price tag is still fine. He his usage has gone up recently as well, which is good to see. And then Murray, it's kind of you're just rolling the dice that he plays well, which in tournaments is perfectly fine. He's cheap, and when he plays well, he does typically get rewarded and get like 30 minutes. He's been losing minutes to Derek White, who's been playing well recently. Last game, we actually saw more minutes from Derek White than from Murray. But at 5,100, he's a guy that his median projection isn't anything to get excited about, but he does have a pretty wide range of outcomes.
Yeah. Although, man, I've been waiting for a game where he get like 30 minutes. It seems to never come. So I've given up hope at this point. But that just means he's going to be low owned here. All right, guys. Just to reiterate, we have this promo code right now, LIV, for $54. You can get a month of all access membership. You can also use Deeper Dive for half off your first week or monthly membership too. Make sure to check that out. All right, Indiana at Golden State. Golden State been kind of reeling this year, but they're mostly back to healthy. So you got guys like D'Angelo Russell, Draymond Green, and Damian Lee playing big minutes. Alec Burks is coming off the bench and playing some decent minutes. But the center rotation, now that they have Chris Spellman and Cauley-Stein, seems to be murky at the least. Who are your go-to guys on the Warriors here?
None of them. I mean, it's not an appealing matchup. Indiana's a slow team. They're a good defensive team. But on top of that, we had Steve Kerr a couple games ago when asked about his rotation with everyone back say that he didn't really have a rotation. He was kind of just playing it by feel. And if you just look back to the last game, the rotations really make no sense. You got 13 minutes from Willie Cauley-Stein. You had just kind of random guys subbing in at random points. And this is essentially a fully healthy team right now. Now that even Jacob Evans is back. So if I had to go to somebody, it would be taking a shot on like a $7,800 D'Angelo Russell. But I think even he's affected because while his usage will still be sky high, I think that instead of seeing those 34, 35-minute games, you're more likely to see around 32 minutes from him, which in an already unappealing matchup is enough to downgrade him a little bit.
Yeah, pretty hard to get here. I agree. So Indiana also a bit of a tough matchup, but they have one of the chalk players of the day, TJ McConnell. Malcolm Brogdon is out, so we're going to see McConnell and Holiday at point guard. We won't really know which one starts the game until later tonight, but most likely guess is McConnell because he started the last one in the second half of the Pacers' last game. So how are you approaching TJ McConnell tonight?
Yeah, my assumption is that he starts too. He's someone that I'd like rostering. He's a productive enough player, pretty much no matter who's on the floor with him, because he's not a high usage guy, but he is a good facilitator. He has a high assist percentage. He averages around 0.94 DraftKings points per minute. He was really, really bad the last time he started for Brogdon. But on the positive side, he did play 26 minutes in 3 quarters, and then he didn't come back out. But that was a game where the second unit, if I remember right, got hot with Aaron Holiday. So it was good to see him get that many minutes in 3 quarters. Potentially, he could, if he's playing well, he gets over 30. But even if you project him for around 28 minutes here, I think he ends up being a pretty decent value against a faster-paced Golden State team that does struggle defensively. One thing also to keep in mind from the last time Brogdon was out, that was the game where Holiday played 30 minutes and played really well. A lot of Holiday's minutes were coming at the expense of Jeremy Lamb, who was in massive foul trouble right out of the gate. We've seen Indiana be pretty hesitant to play McConnell and Holiday alongside each other. Even in the second half last game, they basically were subbing in and out for one another. So it does make me I'm definitely making sure I don't get Eddie McConnell with Holiday, because I think that, like, in a perfect world, Indiana probably doesn't play them alongside each other that much. But I think there is a good chance that it's just a hot hand situation. And if Aaron Holiday comes in and plays really well, then McConnell loses minutes. If McConnell plays well, McConnell gets more minutes, which is, again, perfectly fine for tournaments.
For sure, yeah, I agree. It's hard to have a real confidence in either one because the team seems to value them pretty equally. Jeremy Lamb, his price has really fallen because he hasn't been getting as many minutes. He's been losing minutes to guys like Aaron Holiday and Justin Holiday. But the price is so low. I mean, it's worth taking another shot, probably. Is that your take on Lamb?
Yeah, because there's a couple of ways that he could benefit. For one, he could just play well and stay on the floor instead of getting benched mid-game. But also with Brogdon out, that is more minutes that you're taking from Aaron Holiday and you're moving it. Instead of being Jeremy Lamb's backup, he's TJ McConnell's backup. And so it makes it easier for Lamb to pick up a few extra minutes. And at this price point, you really only need him to get like 26 minutes for him to project as a good option. If you were to get more than that, then he ends up being a guy that you really want. So I'm more than happy to go take a chance on Jeremy Lamb here.
Nice. He actually is one of the chalkier players tonight, Lamb. He's in the top 10 in ownership in our latest update, which was 3 minutes ago. Thaddeus Young is number 1 still. Christian Wood has popped up there to number 2. So people are really getting on this Pistons team now that it's shorthanded. The other pacer I'm interested in, well, basically everyone on FanDuel, they're all really cheap. But on DraftKings, Miles Turner has seen his price fall to 4,900, and that's because in the last 5 games he's averaged 24 minutes a game. Do you think there's a reason why he's been losing minutes, or is that just kind of fluky?
I think it's kind of just Sabonis is really good for one, and so you're seeing that happen. He fouled out in 20 minutes against Denver. He had 4 fouls in the game against Minnesota where he played 25 minutes. So at least to some extent, a little bit of foul trouble. But again, it's kind of similar to Lamb, where if Miles Turner's playing well, he's going to just play more minutes. If he's not playing well, then he's not, but you weren't going to win anyway. So I like getting to him with his salary as cheap as it is.
I agree. Yeah, I'm looking at the game logs too, and it's like you said, where it's just kind of fluky. Like he didn't play the fourth quarter a few, and then fouled out. So, he is worth taking some shots on for sure. And finally, we did not get any news on this game. This Miami hosting the Clippers, so it's kind of sad. We'll start with the Clippers. Kawhi is back. So maybe that makes Lou Williams and Harrell not as exciting as they were the other night. Of course, Lou Will disappointed everyone as massive chalk, but with Kawhi back, they all seem to have pretty high prices, so I'm not landing on any of them outside of FanDuel. Do you see that you might have Clippers tonight?
Pretty much just Kawhi for me. He's about a 1.6 fantasy point per minute guy without George on the floor. It's not a great matchup against Miami, but if Jimmy Butler's out, it would get a little bit better. But either way, you're talking about someone with a 37.5% usage rate that also has a 26% assist percentage without Paul George, and he's been playing huge minutes. So I think Kawhi looked really good. But beyond that, you did get a price hike on guys like Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell at the same time that they're losing production. So it's pretty much Kawhi or bust for me from the Clippers.
Yeah. Kawhi, really, really expensive on DraftKings at 10.3, but on FanDuel 9,800, much easier to get to. On Miami, now we got to finally tackle this because this is going to be really tough. The game starts in 2 hours, so hopefully we do get an update. But so to reiterate, Jimmy Butler is questionable. Kendrick Nunn is questionable. Goran Dragic is questionable. So there's 8 possibilities here. We're not going to cover them all, but I think that if one of these 3 misses, the other 2 look mighty appealing. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And then also Tyler Hero would be the beneficiary if any of these guys sit because he's next in line to pick up minutes, whether it's Butler, Dragic, or Nunn not playing.
Yeah, and if they all don't play, maybe we see some Dion Waiters. I'd like to see it.
I forgot he was on the team.
So if Butler misses, do you think we see a Derrick Jones start along with big minutes here?
Yeah, that's what we saw against the Kings the other day when Butler missed. You got Jones in the starting lineup. He played 28 minutes. Kelly Olynyk's back in the rotation. Apparently, he played 18. James Johnson played 29, including overtime. So yeah, I would expect that Jones starts if Butler is out.
Okay. So that would make him a pretty good value. He's only 3,800 on DraftKings. If he played 30 minutes, he helps you really get in some studs. So I could see that. And then Duncan Robinson seems to be a guy that loves to play. But I don't think like Jones or Robinson would really see increased usage regardless, because they're not really guys that create their own shot. So who do you think the usage would go to if Butler or none miss?
I think that you would get more from Dragic or Hero. You also could get some more from Bam potentially without Butler on the floor this year. Bam's usage stays about the same. Tyler Hero is at 25%. Dragic is at 29.2. So yeah, I think those would be where it goes mostly, whichever guards are in.
Who do you think starts if if none and Dragic miss? So first of all, if none misses, do you think that Dragic gets a start?
Yeah.
And then if Dragic misses also, would that be Hero then in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I guess it would be Hero.
So that could be a huge miss for him. So that
it would probably be Hero. Like if the only thing I could think of is if they wanted to keep him off the bench.
That's when you see maybe like James Johnson. Or Dion Waiters start.
Was it last year that James Johnson was the point guard for a while?
Man, that's pretty awesome. If that's the case, just lock him in tonight because he's 4K. So just summarize. This is probably the game that we're waiting for news on. But what are your go-to teams and players on the slate?
So I think that Detroit obviously opens up as the top spot. Going back to the Tony Snell news, I've seen it reported like in one spot and nowhere else, which is weird. Hopefully we get like more confirmation on that. But the front court for Detroit is appealing, as is Derrick Rose. He gets a bump without Drummond too. I think that Harden should be pretty easy to get to. I really like Kawhi. I really like Trae Young and Jokic. Nice.
Yeah, so Christian Wood, Thon Maker, one of those two guys, probably a core play for me. And then we got Thaddeus Young. You mentioned him. He's a great play. Deadman, a guy that you can really build around. You're going to need some of these cheap guys to fill out your lineup tonight. So those are guys I'm looking at. And I'll look forward to hearing what Chris Spags and Josh Engelman are cooking up in Live Before Lock coming up. Thanks SuperDraft for sponsoring the Deeper Dive, and thanks Adam as always for giving all this great analysis, and thanks everyone for watching. Catch you guys next week.
What's up, guys? We should be starting up now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the awesemo.com live before lock show. Got ourselves 10 NBA games and a lot of news breaking right before we came on the air, so we should have some good things to talk about over the course of this next hour. I'm Chris Spags, joined by a man who some are saying is the #2 best short-form DFS video creator in all of the internet, Josh Engelman. How are you doing, Chubster?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. I know I'm on your lawn a little bit each morning.
I don't like you bringing more professionalism and graphics to the process rather than just talking fast and editing it together in a nice way. But Josh's new video, The Contenders, is a fun video, a very worthwhile video. Yesterday, I saw some people tweeting you about Karis LeVert, how you kind of put them on him. And I guess quick plug for the video, because I feel like, we both are doing short form videos and we're both here. So why not?
I appreciate it. Yeah, you should also be watching the Four Corners. We're putting out quick content, guys. You can get this stuff in and out in 5 to 10 minutes. You can't beat it.
Yeah, and the Contenders video, as I mentioned, great graphics. Josh doing a good job with it, and also giving you a really insightful way in to see the players that he's valuing the most. So something a lot of people want more of. We have it for you every day on the channel, along with the Four Corners. And also, we have the future of DFS in our lives right now, thanks to Super Draft. Go right now to superdraft.io or download Super Draft on the App Store right now. They have a lot of fun things going on over there, including the fact that you get $20 free with your deposit of $100 or more. Use the promo code AWESEMO, and the multiplier game style is really just a simpler way of going about playing DFS. You can have every player you want in there. Yesterday, Dwight Howard was one of the top plays on that site. It was a very obvious one, but one that people still didn't make. With the overlay they have in tournaments over there, you should be checking them out right now at superdraft.io or downloading Superdraft in the App Store. And last plug right now, it is, in fact, Super Bowl time coming up very soon. We have a promo going for the Super Bowl if you use a promo code LIV right now. LIV, like the Roman numerals for 54 at awesemo.com/join. Get yourself a platinum all-access pass to Awesemo's data, all the PGA, NFL, NHL, NBA, all the data you want in your life. Get 30 days for $54 right now at awesemo.com/join with the promo code LIVE. All right, guys, let's I am not wearing a hat today and people are already enjoying. Guys, I'm trying to change my juju around, and I feel like there probably haven't been any hosts of a DFS show who've had pigtails. So I think this is a big moment in the history of DFS, really.
I don't know. Agree? I don't know if I would say that it's a big moment, but it's a moment.
It is a moment. And look, I don't often, we don't talk about our profits and earnings every day. I don't often get shelled 2 days in a row, and I haven't really gotten shelled, but I've lost enough and felt like I had a good read on the last 2 night slates. So this is what's going on today, guys. I'm changing my luck around and hopefully changing all of yours. But Josh, we got some news coming in here about a lot of games. I guess the Celtics one is the one that I'm most curious your thoughts about. Yeah. Adam and Alex both talked about it at some length on the deeper dive. Adam seemed particularly skeptical of the Celtics deriving more value, even though you're not going to have Jalen Tatum, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in the mix today. Both those guys are out. Also, Enes Kanter out, one of my beloved doppelgangers. How are you feeling about the Celtics? Because to me, I think Kemba's a smash play today. I know Orlando is a tough matchup, tough defensive team. And Gordon Hayward, too, becomes a 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without those guys on the floor. Some weird splits, though. So how are you feeling about the Celtics prospects?
I love Walker, Hayward, and Smart to a lesser extent. I'm a fan of Tice. But I'm a major fan of these guys. Gordon Hayward, #2 overall for me right now. Marcus Smart, #5. Kemba Walker, #6. So I can't get away from them. It's a terrible spot. It's giving me a lot of pause, but at the same time, it's 3 guys that are talented, not 3 guys that are like hopping into the lineup because they're getting a bunch of minutes. So I can only feel, even though the matchup stinks, they're the kind of guys that I want to like load up on.
I would think too, and I think Adam and Alex are right. The efficiency is going to drop off, but the usage to me, with these guys, I just don't see who else is going to really take shots. Certainly Marcus Smart won't mind jacking up some more threes as he loves to do, but Hayward is a very competent player, contributes in a lot of categories. And Kemba, we've seen the big upside in spots too. I wouldn't think you'd see 60 fantasy points from him against Milwaukee, but he's done that. So I think in the game, I expect this to be competitive. I don't think Boston throws in the towel here. And, for whatever it's worth, Kemba has had some juice coming in Orlando in the past when he was playing at Charlotte. So I really don't mind these guys. How would you prioritize the plays, though, on Boston?
So it's different for me depending on the site. Gordon Hayward is by far my favorite on FanDuel. He's 5,800. I've got him in for 34 minutes right now because of his position as well. I'm getting a ton. He will likely be my most owned player today. If not, he'll be second. And then it would go, oh man, Smart Walker is pretty much a coin flip just because you're dealing with, two separate salary ranges. So I'd imagine I'd have a comparable amount of both. On DraftKings, however, I would expect to have more Marcus Smart than Hayward, than Walker. But at the same time, I would expect to be getting most of these, like a lot of these guys either way. I'm not when I say that Walker is third, that's not an indictment on Walker.
Okay, that's fair. And the price point too, certainly, and he's going to get the most of the defensive attention, one would think. I think that's certainly a logical thing to worry about Walker a little bit with this price at where it is. And also just the fact that he's going to be a focal point, but I believe in the guy when he gets kind of an unlimited runway for usage. And this spot against Orlando, I don't know. I just might be more of a believer in Boston than some may be, but I think they're going to keep this one competitive. And I do think it's going to go a lot through Kemba and Hayward's hands in particular. Another injury that resulted in a guy that's going to take a big jump in ownership in our most recent run at Osmo, which of course you can get if you want to get just half off the week. If you want to take the LIV promo, use the promo code live before lock to get half off of an Osmo Plus weekly package right now at osmo.com/join. Christian Wood, now a chalk play again. Andre Drummond missing 2 games with a lip injury now. So he's really running much like a child in school, running through the gamut of excuses and reasons not to play. But his lip is paining him. So Christian Wood, how are you feeling about his prospects?
Yeah, I'm going to have a lot. He's my number one guy right now. I'm not a fan of it. It's a power forward on FanDuel, so I'm going to get a lot. On DraftKings, I would also get a lot. That's what happens when someone's ranked as your number one guy across both sites. The prices come down a little bit since it had been fully inflated, so now he is just full on in play, which means that I'm sure he's going to bagel.
No, I mean, the minutes were there for him last game. I think he and Derrick Rose are 2 guys I have a lot of today. Rose is just the guy, whenever there's a reason for me to get to him, I'm there. And he's just been a monster when there isn't any Drummond or Blake on the court. Reggie Jackson kind of came for his minutes last game, but those guys also played together. And then Rose had the really strong second half, even though Reggie was playing well. So I think the opportunity is there for him too. Do you have any Rose interest today, given the fact that his price seems like it's not really pushing people to him ownership-wise too much?
I honestly haven't even noticed, so let me look. Yeah, I am going to have quite a bit of Rose, actually. I hadn't been paying much attention, just been scrambling for news. Rose is actually number 11 for me overall right now. 8th on FanDuel, 19th on DraftKings. So I am going to be getting to Derrick Rose. Not something I say all that often.
Okay. I'm team Derrick Rose this year. I mean, I think that when the usage has been there for him, he's been good, looking pretty explosive on most of the plays that he's had and most of the games and the quality plays he's had. And Memphis playing with a lot of pace, a fast-paced team who also doesn't have really great defense. I think to me, that's kind of the spot where Rose is really going to thrive the most, get some easy looks at the rim. So I'm in on Rose. It looks like Svi has taken a jump too in terms of being a value play. You want to go back to Svi today?
Have I ever been there?
No, maybe not, but why not?
I gave him 28 minutes. I mean, okay, so key part for this. Tony Snell may or may not be out. One person has tweeted out that Tony Snell is not playing today. No one else with any sort of tie to a Pistons beat, anything like that, has mentioned this. It has not been mentioned by Schmabs or anything like that yet. So I am treating him like he is in until I hear something different. If he is out, yes, he's going to become a little bit more interesting just because there's going to be a lot more minutes to go around. I have Tony Snell in for 30 minutes. If and when that comes out, I got to fill those 30 minutes with somebody. And they're starting to run out of dudes. So I get it at that point. But for right now, I'm not seeing it yet.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look,
Willie Cauley-Stein traded to Dallas.
Oh, there we go. All right, I guess the Justin Patton move was maybe to clear some way for him. Interesting.
Yeah, they needed to open a roster spot.
Yeah, does that change anything against Indiana? Because you would think you need a big in there tonight against the size that Indiana brings, and now you're down to Marquise Chris and Amari Spellman, I guess, is the guys. Maybe Pascal if you really want to push him. Would that give you any more interest than the Golden State guy?
Probably not. I mean, they've got an unlimited amount of centers, although I guess Looney's still hurt. Let me take a look at it quick to see. I don't think anybody's going to really pick up enough to matter, but because he only played like 11 minutes in the last game. Draymond healthy, so they've got plenty of guys that can approximate fives. Pull it up and take a look, because I need to take Willie Cauley-Stein out of the rotation. That's like Marquise Chris might really be the guy. That's also a great deal for Dallas, depending on what they have to give up to do it, which I can't imagine it would be much, but I mean,
tough day for Boban fans who wanted him to play yesterday, and he did not, and now he's probably going to play even less.
Yeah, he's not going to see the floor basically ever. Let's see. Golden State Warriors. So Willie Cauley-Stein played 14 minutes on Wednesday. Chris got 18, so I'm going to immediately just jump him to 18 just to see where we go there. Amari Spellman was playing the most run while Willie Cauley-Stein was, kind of doing his thing. So let's bump Spellman to 22. That still leaves me 16 minutes and an extra body. Which would be Smilagic with the team still?
I think so.
He's a two-way guy, so he could just be down. He hasn't played in 4 games.
I think matchup-wise, I would think Chris is probably the better matchup than Spellman, just because Spellman's spent so much time outside the paint. And at least Chris can bang a little if he dedicates himself to it.
Oh yeah, that's your first mistake, thinking that Golden State is going to treat this like they care about the matchup.
Fair point.
I think that they're just going to play a bunch of guys 12 minutes and call it a day. I don't see Smilagic anywhere. Has he been playing in the G League? I don't know. I mean, it's mildly important.
It just feels like it's worth covering for the sake of completeness, but maybe not something that actually matters too much. I wouldn't mind taking a stab at Chris at his price point, given that he's cheaper than Thaddeus Young, he's cheaper than Dedmon, he's cheaper than all those guys who are going to be chalky, and he's a good per minute player when he gets the run. Yeah. And so Spellman too, honestly. Spellman can score and can do some things. So both those guys, I think, cheap enough to be, worth flyers.
Yeah, I'm not excited to see what this does. I don't want Golden State guys against Indiana, so I might just hope for the best.
Okay.
It seems. Oh, okay. I don't have any minutes going to Jacob Evans, so I have more than enough going around. Boom. 10 Golden State guys, done and dusted. Although I am playing 32 minutes. Move Chris's minutes here. I'm just going to treat that like it's good. Let me take a look and see if it impacts anything. Golden State. So, okay, I didn't get anybody to show up as anything of value outside of Amari Spellman at 3,500. If you get Marquise Chris 20 minutes today, I think that he is also viable as a value. Spellman 4,300 on FanDuel, Chris 4K on FanDuel. I'm going to have a hard time getting to either one of those guys on that site because there's too much variability in the minutes. It's a terrible matchup clear across the board for them. I wouldn't expect a lot out of them. And, if they were 3,500, I could see getting there. There's enough value now where I don't think that Chris and Spellman are really anything you need unless you can fully expect one of them to get 24 plus minutes. And I don't necessarily know if that's the case. If we can confirm if Smilagic is not with the team, that would be important. Just knowing that that's one less guy that can get center minutes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And yeah, Smilagic is a guy who can, fill those minutes. And I would still favor Chris a little bit out of these guys, but I think, where is he? There are not enough Alan Smilagic updates, which I think is an issue we have as a collective community. Yeah. All right, well, let's move forward because we got a lot of value to talk about. Yeah. Bulls value seems like the next most important one to jump to because you have a couple guys there who should theoretically gain some opportunity. Lauri Markkanen out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. We also still have the centers there are hurt with Gafford and Carter still sidelined. So Thad Young can be the big beneficiary ownership-wise, but you could theoretically also see some run for Kornet and Kreese. And Kornet's been a guy we've liked in the past. I know you have some dabbled occasionally in the unit Kornet in the past. What are you doing with Chicago guys? Who do you think gets a boost from their absences?
He's active, by the way.
Is he?
Or at least it seems like he is. He hasn't played a game in the G League since the 18th. So unless they're on break, I'm thinking he's back up with the team. I don't know. What was your question? Sorry, I was on
the Bulls value. Obviously, Thad Young would be the chalk play of the day, but Kornet should also benefit. Which of these guys is the most appealing to you, or are you just avoiding the situation mostly because Thad Young is going to be very chalky, and in terms of a usage guy, he's not really that high of a usage guy to really trust, I would guess.
Yeah, so I love Thad Young. He's my number 4 overall. He's hard to get away from either way. I think that Luke Kornet is going wildly underrepresented, particularly on DraftKings where he's 4,400. If that ownership holds and it's 25-5, like I would happily just have 25% Luke Kornet. Let me rephrase that. I would not happily have that because I don't like Luke Kornet and he is not very good. But I don't think that the difference between the two guys. I mean, Thad Young's a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. So is Luke Kornet. I don't think their minutes are going to be wildly different here. I just don't see a reason why you would want to have those guys separated by so much. I think it's happening just because Thad Young is more of a name.
Yeah, no, it seems fair. And he has played well a couple times that Lowry's been out and he's gotten that start and got that run. Though probably in more favorable matchups than this one against Sacramento, even though they are playing with a bit more pace. On Super Draft as well, Thad Young, 1.8x multiplier, that does seem pretty good for him, knowing that he's probably got some pretty secure minutes. But I agree for the other sites, Kornet, I think, should be in the mix, and he can do some different things than Young and can stretch the floor. I agree, like, it would be logical to have, I would say, not close to even, but maybe just get a little more Kornet in there because he's at just 5% projected ownership on DraftKings in our most recent run compared to 45% for Thad. So that's actually, no, did that come down? No, he's down to 25. So that's not as bad. But
you've lost everybody. Kendrick Nunn out, Goran Dragic out, Jimmy Butler will play.
Jesus Christ. All right. So, so Butler gains from that. Hero gains from that as well.
Yeah.
Would Butler become a more important play to you today, given that he's probably not going to be as owned as he should be?
I don't know. I got to figure out who that.
Butler.
I just removed all 48 minutes from the point guard spot, and their other point guard, which would be Justice Winslow, also not playing today. So, I got to assume that Tyler Hero is going to become the most popular player here, but I don't have any concept of what his salary is because I haven't played him in ages. James Johnson is probably going to be like a sneaky point forward here, which, you know, that's a thing, but he's been playing, way bigger minutes lately, so I see no reason why that would change for today. Miami notoriously not playing a ton of dudes. Dion Waiters might get dusted off today. Who the hell knows? I don't know if he's with the team or if he ate an edible earlier or something.
Yeah, he probably ended up with hair like mine for the day. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think there's something to unearth here. The Clippers defense also just worse because of not having Paul George in the mix. Certainly you're going to have Kawhi back in there. But to me, a Kawhi Butler kind of pairing is one that's pretty intriguing. Can't see those guys go head to head today in a meaningful way. And Kawhi doesn't look like he's going to be owned today. His price is high enough up where people won't be going there. And Butler as well because of the questionable status and his price also being up a bit. It seems like that's a spot that would be worth targeting and getting some exposure to.
I don't even know who's available right now. This is ridiculous. Who is the point guard for Miami tonight? Just Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah,
he's just going to be the point guard.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nobody else they have left who could handle it besides James Johnson, who you mentioned. I guess Bam's probably going to get a little boost too because he can bring the ball up court a little bit more.
There it is. Tony Snell officially listed as out.
There you go.
So that's even worse. This slate is going to hell in a handbasket right now.
And also Thad Young officially starting for Lowry Markkanen. So that has now been confirmed, even though obviously we all expected that. Yeah, I would think Bam gets a boost here because that was really when he did his best is when Dragic and Winslow were out, when he had those really monster outlier games. That was the situation. And against the Clippers, it's not like Zubac or Harrell are really going to stop him from doing that in a meaningful way. So I would think Bam gets a little bit more of a boost than people will give him credit for too.
Oh, man, I don't know what. I mean, I don't think they have bodies. None out, Dragic out, Winslow out. They almost have to play Dion Waiters. I mean, they don't because they're Miami. They'll play 7 guys and run them into the ground. KZ Okpala, I don't know if he's with the team. He certainly doesn't ever play. Chris Silva is definitely in the G League. Udonis Haslem is probably in like the front office. They do not have a lot of dudes today.
No, they not. And
Miami has just become really shockingly problematic.
Well, they were already in a variety of ways. And I do think you have to mention Jimmy Butler getting snubbed in the All-Stars, even though he's not did not show up for that game 2 years ago. Literally, well, he showed up for it. He just didn't play for no reason. Probably affected that as well. But he does seem like the kind of guy who maybe would use this as a bit of a statement too, for whatever reason, because got to always be slighted somehow if you're Jimmy Butler.
I didn't even know he didn't make the All-Star team. That's how little I pay attention.
I pay attention to it. I saw some article today that whatever Twitter handle was putting out. And I was like, really? Like they're talking like, oh, Jimmy Butler should be mad he's not an All-Star. Like, yeah, if you take the All-Star game not seriously at all 2 years ago, I think let the other guys who actually want to play go. I think that probably seems fair.
I don't think anything matters if it's fair in the NBA, but I hear you.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the players didn't vote for him either, and it's like, yeah, because they just like, why waste the vote on Jimmy? Go let somebody else go. Go let Trae Young go. Why not?
To be fair, I don't even know if he should be an All-Star.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument against it. I don't know. It's not something I feel like you could debate the minutiae of it all day. Like I think Trae's an All-Star, but like I think I could see why people would say, well, he doesn't win, and you can nickel and dime all of them. Whoever just plays.
He is 100% not an All-Star to me. However, because of what the All-Star game is, he should be there because he's certainly like a fan favorite, but he does not deserve anything remotely close to an All-Star bid. I don't think he's one of the top 70 players in the NBA.
You don't think he's one of the top 70 players in the NBA?
No, not even close.
Okay.
Could he be? Sure. He's a second-year point guard that is just as bad on defense as he is good on offense.
So we covered the Chicago value. Should also just talk about Dwayne Dedmon on the other side. His ownership, one would think, would come down a little bit. And I guess it has come down in the most recent run of ownership. We'll see how it all kind of comes together in these final minutes or this final half hour before lock. But Dedmon's still a good play. He did play 31 minutes last game and was going against Christian Wood primarily and Thon McCurr, but still not really going against a center of note. Chicago not going to be bringing a center of note either. Where are you with Dedmon? Because it is a good center spot on paper against Chicago. And if he gets 30 minutes, I'd feel good. It just worries me that we could see Bjelica play the 5. We could go a variety of ways because nothing's scaring you inside for Chicago.
Give him like 24, 25 minutes or something like that. He could play 10. He could play 30. I don't really know what to do. So I just want to have like just enough of him to just chill. Like, if I get 15, 20%, I'm cool with it. I don't want to go too crazy. Like it's the most... Anything can happen with his minutes. It doesn't seem like they ever have any idea what's going on.
He could definitely spike an upside in a meaningful way that scares me enough where I wanted to get at least with the field on him because this is a really good center match. I mean, I know we don't talk often about DVP, but in terms of DVP center matchups, this is the best one. And center is one spot where that is a little bit more predictable. So if he gets the minutes, I would be afraid of him putting up a 40 burger, and then you could still probably get away with it with all the value we have. But like he looked good in that game against Detroit for whatever it's worth, whether he's just padding his stats for trade value or whatever. I don't know. I'm intrigued by Dedmon today. And I think now his ownership has come down to 17%. That seems about right to me and more than fair for a guy who just played 30 minutes.
Dude, I've only given 7 players minutes from the Heat. I still have 28 more to assign. I don't know what to do.
Is it, I mean, I guess we can't assume anything here, but does this maybe make the Clippers a little, they're already a favorite on the road in this game. Does maybe make them a more higher probability play that this game gets ugly pretty fast? Or is that not something you would even consider?
Oh, I'm not considering it at all. Not with the Heat. I mean, they still have the 7 guys that they have are all 7 NBA players and plus whatever you want to call Deion Waiters. I don't know.
Right,
there's this thing called Gabe Vincent, who's like the 4th point guard listed on ESPN. I don't know who or what that is. He is not even listed on my depth chart. I can promise you he is not in my player. Have I ever added him? I don't. Rookie?
It does seem like a classic Gabe Vincent game. I mean, as we all know, when Gabe Vincent spot's set up right, that's chef's kiss.
Yeah, I don't have him. So cool. Steven Adams out. Blow it all up, man. Screw it.
All right. So Nerlens Noel, now a very strong center play, also played 30 minutes last game without Steven Adams, and he's going against Atlanta. how does Nerlens Noel look? I know on FanDuel he already looked like a really strong value with the way that Alex runs projections, which kind of account for half the minutes load. Noel on FanDuel looks strong. On DraftKings still, I think, very much in play at his price point. How does Noel look for you against Atlanta on this night that is quickly turning as wacky as my hair today?
I mean, I guess he's in play. I have no idea. I'm still deep in Miami territory here. I mean, obviously play Nerlens Noel. I assume his price hasn't gone like through the roof or anything.
No, he's 5,100 on DK. What's his multiplier on Super Draft? Because that's actually an interesting question. Noel's got a pretty strong 1.75x multiplier on Super Draft, so he's going to look like one of the better plays on there too. This is a prime Nerlens Noel spot where he can contribute some defensive stat, gonna have some easy rebounds. The pace of Atlanta,
Jake is in YouTube chat. How do you guys do this? The whole slate dies every 10 minutes.
Somebody's asking why didn't people play Noel the other day? Noel's price is at a spot that's not a must-have. I think that was also the day that we had Dedmon at 3,100, which took a lot of ownership. Like Noel, I think in this spot against Atlanta is also just a different play. It's a better situation than the one that he had last game going against Orlando, which is not a great spot as we talked about earlier with Boston. So, Atlanta, much more of a situation where Noel could spike an upside day in a meaningful way.
This is a fantastic spot for Nerlens Noel, but you should have also played him a couple days ago as well. Okay, so I'm going to give him 29 minutes. I guess that's fine. We're going to give him Muscala the other 19 at center. Cross our fingers that he plays another 2. Is Dort probably picking up some time? Lucky him.
Gotta love a Dort day.
Feeling like a little bit of a Dort day. Where's Baisley hiding? You can get those 15.
It's a silly slate. This is very silly.
I am over it already, dude. This is not what I was looking for in the slightest bit.
Oh boy.
What now?
No, I was looking at my lineup.
I was like, dude, come on.
I don't even know what to do.
I was like, pass, man. Whatever you got to say, I don't want it. I'm not interested in whatever you're selling.
No, nothing else crazy yet, but we'll keep our eyes peeled for everything. Raptors starters are normal: Lowry, Van Vliet, Anunoby, Siakam, Gasol, Walker, Smart, Hayward, Grant Williams, and Tice for the Celtics. So that is what's going on there. So
Grant Williams starting, eh?
Yeah. So
Walker, Smart. Hey.
Wait, so who plays? Does Poirier get more minutes? Poirier. How do you pronounce his name?
Poirier.
Does he get more minutes today? Poirier. Does he get more minutes?
I gave him like 10 or 12. They might give him the Taco Fall or something. I think that makes it more likely that you see minutes for Poirier or Taco Fall now, and less likely that Grant Williams plays a lot of them at center.
The Taco Fall all-star exclamation point game could happen today.
Right, like when he's almost getting in there and the rest of the sham stuff from the player votes or from the people votes. Terrible. Just like Josh Engelman's lineup's usually dead. Yeah, my bankroll says otherwise. Paul.
Oh boy, it's been an interesting day in the chat, which I'm looking away from. But yeah, all right, Adam's out. Draft guy just got to make some changes to my stuff.
All right, so I've got everything updated, I guess. Do we know when the last time Alex put in a minutes update?
Let's see.
I feel like I should reference that at this point. 6:30. Wow.
Just now, literally, as I just refreshed the page and one just came through.
When you're good, you're good.
Oh no, but no, I'm not getting anything loading in it.
Oh well, when you're bad, you're bad.
It's gonna be one of those days, ladies and gentlemen. So hit that like button. We appreciate. Like, there we go. Now it's up. Yeah, I guess I literally pressed the second it was uploaded, so I guess our site just didn't have it.
I need to take a look at what he's doing with the Heat and if he's given any minutes to Mr. Gummy Bear.
Yeah, I guess like if we can close the loop on all these guys with the information you glom from that, I think that'd be helpful because we should probably talk about players who are actually cost money and are good. I think.
You're going to be able to play all of them now.
Yes.
All right. So Alex gave Waiters 10 minutes. I gave him 14. He only gave Hero 29. So is he giving minutes to that goof that I didn't know? Nope. 240 to everybody that I gave him minutes to. Big minutes to Duncan Robinson. Way less minutes to James Johnson, which is interesting. A lot of minutes to Kelly Olynyk, which is even more interesting to me. Oh, God. Is it going to be one of those Kelly Olynyk dropped 55 games and everybody wants to jump off a building?
Oh no, that does have the makings of it, because he's not one of those guys who'll probably pick up the reflective ownership. And yeah. Well,
So I have Hero as just like a staggeringly good play. James Johnson as well, 3,700 on FanDuel, 4K on DK. Derek Jones, 4,100 on FanDuel, 30. We need to have a conversation about who we think is going to be in the Miami closing lineup if it exists, which Bam Adebayo, obviously. Jimmy Butler, obviously. I can't see a scenario where it's not Tyler Hero.
mm-hmm.
And then it would probably be, Derek Jones, Duncan Robinson? No, Duncan Robinson, James Johnson?
Yeah, so I was thinking Duncan or James.
Who? That's kind of important for like making groups. Last game they played, Butler, Adebayo, Dragic, James Johnson, Hero closed in OT and closed the fourth quarter. So yeah, James Johnson. I would probably set up. No, I don't even know. Max 2, Hero, Johnson, Jones, Robinson, probably.
Yeah, I think that seems fair.
Max 2, Johnson, Jones, Robinson. I think Hero probably closes regardless.
Oh my Lord. Is that, I guess we're talking about groups. Somebody had asked earlier, are there any other groups that you would really want to avoid today in terms of overlap that jump out off the top of your head?
Holiday and McConnell.
Yeah, I agree with that. Noel Muscala, maybe.
I don't think that wouldn't have crossed my mind, but yes.
I only see it because like Noel is now one of my top projected plays in terms of value on the slate. So Noel, I really should have a lot more of, is what I'm seeing from mine. So that's good.
Johnson, Duncan Robinson, Derek Jones.
This is such a silly slate.
Yeah, this should be fun. We get to find out what my new target score is, which, I mean, this is just going to be like one of the dumbest things I've ever clicked on. That's for sure. This just blew up. Like, I think that I've removed like 400 minutes from what I had projected earlier today. The whole slate is completely different now. Like, full on completely different. I'm going to end up getting like 70% James Harden. And I think the crunch I had this morning, I got 5. There just wasn't any money to go around. And now it's only value. I don't like having so much Miami right now.
One guy who I feel like I had too much of just because he's so cheap on DraftKings, and DraftKings, unlike FanDuel, there are some plays today like Ricky Rubio, I don't get why his price would be where it is on FanDuel. It's where it is normally on DraftKings. But I just don't like Miles Turner that much, I guess is the best way to put it. And I was getting a lot of him just because of his price. And I really want to make sure I turn all of that into Noel now, because that's one I don't get the sense that you're going to have much issue losing that Miles Turner now. I loved him too. He was my number one guy on contenders, but once the value comes out, the mid tier just goes away. So you should be fine. Yeah. So that would just be one thing that I would notice. If you're a person like me, obviously I do it because of this show, but if you're making lineups, and you kind of put them in and then you just leave them alone, now is certainly a day where if you were taking some of that value on DraftKings in particular, might be a time to look at that value and take another run at it. Because Noel looks very important. This is wild. 440 is what I'm setting the target score on FanDuel right now. Oh boy. 440. So we have all this money now. I guess who would you find to be your pay up options that are a priority? Because you can literally make a million different value lineups for people out there. Before we answer that, which value do you think is the highest priority now that we have literally 10 different value spots? Probably Nerlens Noel. Okay. 4,400 on FanDuel. I don't know what he is on DraftKings. At this point, the way the slate is going, like, there are no updates for me on DK. So everything that comes out of my mouth for the next 24 minutes is fully based on FanDuel salary and FanDuel thoughts. Yeah. I just don't have the time to go back and like update raw data for DK, and I'm not playing on DK. So everything I've got is FanDuel. So Noel is 5,100 on DK. So he is a little bit higher price, as Josh mentioned. But on FanDuel, I would think he's like pretty much a must-have on FanDuel would be how I would think of that. Yeah, he's I thought I was going to have a lot of Christian Wood. Nerlens Noel was like, yo, hold my beer. Damn, I still got to get Tony Snell out. Almost forgot about that. That could have been bad.
Well,
You know,
it could have been not good, I guess. Bad is relative. Still Tony Snell. Pat Beverly out. Gary Harris on track to play. Trae Young won't have a minutes limit. At least none of those things are things that would have driven me crazy.
yeah. All right. Trae Young won't have the minutes limit today. In addition to the news that Josh just mentioned, Piston starters Jackson Rose, Svi, Sekou Doumbouya, and Thon McCurr. So Christian Wood can still get the minutes there, but he's not starting once again because why would he? Why would he do that?
Yeah, I don't think that'll matter all that much.
No, but it would just be nice for him as a Wood stan, a longtime Christian Wood fan. I would like to see him get these starts, feel good about himself, build this confidence. We got a couple of super chats here from Justin Swearingen. Hopefully he meant to send this twice, but if he did, we appreciate it either way. Justin, who would be your FanDuel GPP top value at position? I don't know. That seems a little overbroad, but who would be the top values you find to be the most important on FanDuel?
One of the guys from the Pacers, although both of them are kind of way less interesting than they were before. Tyler Hero, Derek Jones, James Johnson, Nerlens Noel, Montrezl Harrell, I guess. I don't know. Don't have a ton of interest in Dwayne Dedmon any longer. Probably should, but
are you so? Oh yes, okay. So now we talked about kind of the priority value. Who are the priority pay up guys? Because you mentioned you were getting a lot more. Harden certainly is going to be the top projected raw points play on the slate, but Russ has been taking a lot of his opportunity away when they both have been in the lineup. But the matchup against Minnesota probably should give a lot of that back as well, just because they play with pace and the defense not as good with Towns in there. But is Harden your priority guy? Is it a guy like Ingram who kept his usage even though Zion was in there?
Harden, Kawhi, and Jokic.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue Kawhi.
Yeah.
Oh, George.
All right. Sekou's just going to have to play like 32 minutes.
I honestly don't.
Alex is giving Tim Frazier 18 minutes. Boss, I love you. I don't know if Derrick Rose, Tim Frazier, and Reggie Jackson, like those guys can be on the floor together all that much. And that would create a lot of time on the floor together. Tim Frazier, little.
They were playing Reggie and Rose together in that last game, which, could be a matchup thing. But I think against Memphis, I don't think you're too worried about that either with a lot of Morant and a lot of Brooks in that backcourt. But yeah, but Frazier, it's hard to see really. Like with Reggie getting in there, his minutes limit's going to be about the same. But I don't see why you'd like Frazier would be back in the rotation in a meaningful way.
I don't know. They might not have a choice. I don't know who. I mean, Langston Calloway is going to have to play 32, 30 something minutes, right?
Sure. I think, we had him. Awesome had a pretty aggressive minutes projection for him. I saw he had him at 33 minutes.
Yeah. I just gave him 32 now. Got to bump up Svi as well. He's going to play.
Derrick Rose probably can't play more than 32, one would think. No. Or not much more.
I don't think that, they need these minutes on the wing. I can't. Playing Derrick Rose more isn't, I don't really think it's going to solve anything. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Well,
if you move Reggie to the 2, which is what they were doing a little bit, I think then.
I think they only played like 2 minutes together.
Really felt like a lot more.
I could be. I could be totally wrong. Rose played 30 minutes. Reggie Jackson played 19. I can't imagine neither one of them was on the floor at any point in time, really, especially with Bruce Brown out. I don't know who would have been running the offense. Langston Galloway, I guess. I have not looked, so I'm just making that up based on.
I just remember there was a pretty good portion before the end of the first half where they were in there, and I wasn't paying close enough attention in the second half, but I'm pretty sure I saw them play at least a few there. But it was probably, you're right, probably like under 5 minutes together.
Everybody they have is a stupid point guard. Like the only other guy that I can see that gets any minutes is Jordan Bone, and he's a guard. Is Lewis King with the team still? How tall is that guy? Lewis King is 6'7". Okay. He's not a real person, fortunately for me. So I'm just going to treat him like filler. I'm going to give those minutes to Kyrie Thomas since it won't matter. Just need someone to eat them up.
Jack Perry in the YouTube chat, I'm pretty sure Josh said that Thon was out. He did not say that. He said that Tony Snell was out, which is...
Yeah. I mean, if I did say Thon was out, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, Thon is playing and starting, so do not...
No.
You're just confused.
Yeah, that's if I did say that I misspoke.
Also, Jimmy in the premium Slack asking, how many minutes do you have Harrow at? Where did you shake out with Tyler Harrow?
I mean, he's going to be like my number one play of the day.
But minutes wise,
north of 30. They don't have enough players for it to matter. I gave him 34. Who the hell knows? They don't have they just don't have bodies unless they dust off Dion Waiters. That's the only thing that can change this right now. And there's no way to know what they're going to do with that. That's just we just don't have the information of how they're going to treat a guy that has been exiled from the team for essentially the entire season.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly a gunner. So if he gets the minutes, he's going to do whatever he does shamelessly for sure.
Right.
But
that's super problematic.
That's sort of the ideal spot for Waiters to go, because that's when he's played well. I remember last year, there were a couple games where I had him where he had 40 fantasy point upside, and it was just when there was nobody else left, and there's just go Dion, just do something. And I feel like those are the days where he does randomly do that. But I still don't know if he gets enough minutes, and definitely the trust is not there for these guys at this point.
No, it's gonna be real wonky.
Yeah, the theme of this slate, it's gonna be real wonky. I think that's.
I'm lined up for so much Nerlens Noel right now. It's silly.
Yeah, Nerlens Noel, a priority on DraftKings, on FanDuel, where he's a power forward, on Super Draft, where he's got a pretty strong multiplier. He looks good. Pretty much all the sites will be playing on today. So Nerlens Noel, certainly a guy. If you had less than the field of him, or if you made your lineups and just didn't get him, now is the time to readdress that. We still have 20 minutes left.
I still need to run a crunch. This sucks. I hate these days. Being on this show is the dirt worst.
Oh,
I love being on the show. Not on a 10-game slate where the NBA decides to light it on fire at 6 p.m.
And not when you have 4 to 5 figures staked on it, but that's why I dialed back when I'm hosting a show, bankroll to more reasonable amounts that I can swallow losing. I'm not.
That makes one of us.
We got some questions here, which hopefully we can just answer while you're working through your stuff.
I'm back now that we've got now that I have minutes and stuff fixed. Now I'm just doing my normal work.
Okay. So Pharmacist Yoho, this is a FanDuel question, but would you go Derrick Rose or would you save the $1,200 on FanDuel for Rubio?
Good question. I would rather have Rubio either way. So Rubio. I assume Rubio's ownership just disappears now.
Yeah, it's a good point. Let's see. We actually just got an ownership update, I think not that long ago.
3 minutes ago, I reckon.
Yeah. Let's see. So Rubio's still up there. Still top really? 6.
Really?
28%.
Okay. I mean, I still like Rubio, so it doesn't really change my answer or anything, but...
Also, a quick plug right now, because you still have the time, and honestly, today in particular would be worth it. Go right now to Awesemo.com/join and use that promo code LIV for Super Bowl 54. If you do that right now at Awesemo.com/join, you can get yourself $54 for 30 days of an all-access Awesemo Plus pass. Jake Hari's in the comments. He does great jobs for everybody with the NHL content. Also PGA, NBA, NFL, all the stuff you want for the Super Bowl. Obviously going to help out quite a bit. So go right now to Awesemo.com/join and use that promo code LIV for Super Bowl LIV, Super Bowl 54. To get yourself 30 days for $54, which is a pretty good discount on the going rate there. All right. Some more questions here. I guess we are in the either or time. Hayward and Payton or Lamb and DeRozan for a DK GPP?
Let's see. Gordon Hayward. Let me click crunch first. I'm a half second away from doing that, so no sense in not letting that just rip in the background while I do this. Gordon Hayward and
Elfrid Payton or Lamb and DeRozan for DK.
Jeremy Lamb, DeMar DeRozan. I would rather have. I have the Hayward Payton group projected for 2 additional fantasy points. So Hayward and Payton is my answer.
All right. I think I would go Hayward and Payton too. I definitely have a lot more Hayward than any of the above. I love DeRozan, but I don't trust Lamb. He just keeps finding ways to lose minutes, which does freak me out enough to not get there. Let's see. For DK Cash, who would be a higher priority for you, Jimmy Butler or Sabonis? I would say right now it's got to be Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, it's got to be Butler.
Yeah. Elusive Smoke, your superpower is shameless plugs. Thank you, Elusive Smoke. I appreciate that. I gotta fill the airtime somehow, and we're trying to make sure we got enough Nerlens Noel in our lives, which again, really, I think one of the priorities of the slate for me right now is Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, if you could hear me, hold on. I think my AirPods might have died, so I need to plug in headphones.
I can hear you. You're good.
Okay. Now I can hear you. So I guess
okay.
It didn't. Now you're only in one of my ears, but whatever.
That's better. It's like I'm whispering to you while we do a little sensuality for the old Chubster while we hit the stretch run here. Let me check the YouTube chat, see if there's anything good here. Boom, boom, boom. Brandon Mendez. Whoa, that effing haircut. To be clear, I have the same man bun as always. I just pulled it into pigtails because I was just bored in the middle of the day. it's not that deep. I do a lot of drugs and I do weird hair things sometimes. We can all deal with it. Let's see. Nothing good in the premium Slack. Still no faith in Zion on Super Draft. Zion does seem like a more appealing play on Super Draft today. I guess we should answer the Zion question overall.
Deadman starting.
Who's starting?
Deadman.
Oh, okay, so we're good there. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right. And also, I guess we didn't talk about Bogdanovich starting. The deeper dive guys, both Alex and Adam, talked about that. And I agree with their take that Bogdanovich and Fox together are just not the best combo. Healed off the bench, I guess if it doesn't affect its minutes, I might be a little more intrigued by. But how do you feel about that Kings situation with Fox and Bogdanovich and no Healed starting?
I mean, on FanDuel, you could just play Tyler Hero for $200 less than Bogdanovich and feel probably pretty comfortable with it. I don't think it really changes all that much for either guy. We have Bogdanovich at 27% ownership on FanDuel. I will happily ignore that. But we also don't have Tyler Hero getting any ownership, so I assume that'll change shortly. Or or maybe right now. Yeah, there it is. 11.9% for Hero. Nope, that's DraftKings.
Yeah, we just got another ownership update 3 minutes ago. So behind the scenes, our folks are working hard to make sure. Also, Amari Spellman apparently now a chalk play on DraftKings, which is interesting.
Not terribly shocking, I guess.
Man, I'd rather have Dedmon than him by a decent bit, I think. Like, I know the prices are much more beneficial for Spellman, but if Dedmon's starting and they're going to give him that run, which I don't know.
They don't have to give him that run. He started at one game and he played 12 minutes.
No, you're right. I think there's risks to it, but I just feel like the upside is just much better for him than Spellman against Indiana. Like, I don't know.
You shouldn't be comfortable with any one of those decisions, I think is the best way to put it. For real. Okay. Like, Dedmon's minutes are wildly in flux. They haven't seemed to like him for most of the season. And Amari Spellman is one of like 6 guys that can legitimately be a center for the Warriors today. So sometimes it's really just hard.
Trade deadlines in 2 weeks. Like, now's the time if you're going to get Dedmon any sort of value. I think now's the time where you do it. And going against Chicago, like, I feel like that's doubly the time where you just see what he can do and give him a shot. But
I don't think that you need to showcase Dwayne Dedmon. I think everybody kind of knows who Dwayne Dedmon is at this point.
Yeah, whoever just needs a big, I guess. And I mean, probably Dallas is in the hunt for him, I would think. And then they just probably were asking too much.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
What up, Willie?
Oh, yeah. So we did. Oh, apparently no sound or no. At least for this one guy, no sound. I don't know if that's for everybody.
I'm sure it's just him. You would see.
Maybe hit the mute button.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that I would have screwed something up, but YouTube chat would light us on fire if we went silent. I mean, one person gets ruled out and 87 people in chat let us know. So I think we'd know if the sound went out.
That is a fair point. All right. Where's the White Claws and red wine? It's Friday. I have my White Claw here, but I haven't been able to drink it because we've been trying to make sure our lineups don't die on the vine.
I've never had one.
Oh, you're missing out. But you have red wine. You are more of a red wine, or your Cavassier if you enjoy your little chalice of Cavassier.
Wow. I just now saw Nerlens Noel's ownership on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Woo! How is that possible if James Johnson is 3,700?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Noel's, so we have now have Noel projected for 73%. We'll give this one away for free, but obviously if you want these when we're feeling less generous, make sure you're going to osmo.com/join. Use the promo code live before lock for half off your first week, or that LIV promo code for 30 days for $54. Noel 73% on FanDuel, Noel 37% on DraftKings. I would still want more on DraftKings, and the FanDuel ownership seems about fair.
Gotta get my dummies uploaded quickly. Just so I can have at least mild peace of mind because I don't think I need T. Owens, whoever the hell that is, as my current dummy center. I just save that to DraftKings template. That's going to confuse.
Oh yeah, so the Zion question, I feel like we just kind of jumped off that, but are you playing him or no?
No, not at all. He is wildly unplayable on FanDuel and DraftKings. If you play him, you are making a gigantic mistake. Thank you for paying Rake today.
So I got a little bit of Zion. But
I just can't play more than 20 minutes. There is no right tail to his performance. And now we have all of these people. You need 40. If he's going to go for 2 fantasy points per minute, God bless you. That is a tough needle.
No, I think you're right. And I am coming off of him. I think he's going to be one of the casualties of my need to get some Noel ownership.
He's 6K on DraftKings, right?
Yeah. 61. Yeah, 61. Yeah, 6K, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that is just, at this point now, I mean, you need 40 plus out of a 6K guy.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't expect his 42% usage rate to hold up, and he's going against Denver. There are some really risky things to go into him today now that we have all this value and so many different ways to go. So yeah, I agree. All right, let's see what we got in questions here. Got an either or from Johnny Sack. Would Pascal and Rose or Thad, Markieff Morris, and Russell Westbrook for FanDuel cash?
I already forgot that. It's too many names. I don't know. We'll go with the first one, but I don't remember a single name that got mentioned there except for Russell Westbrook.
Sorry, Johnny,
Sack.
I'd go Wood, Pascal, and Rose. I think I like those guys on DraftKings more today, and I think the ownership is probably still going to be.
You shouldn't be playing Pascal today.
You shouldn't be playing Pascal today?
Shouldn't.
Oh, is the price that bad on FanDuel? He's still pretty well priced on DK.
I don't even know if he's 30. He could be 3,500. I don't think it really matters.
Why? Wait, why would it not matter for Pascal Siakam?
Oh, not Eric Pascal.
No. Pascal Siakam.
Okay.
We're just on a first name basis. We're bros.
Okay. Normally we use last names in these scenarios. I mean, I still don't have an answer to the question, but I don't have Eric Pascal is a much different play. That is a person that really shouldn't be owned in cash.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. Pascal Siakam, I think, is a pretty safe play. I think you can question his upside. But Pascal, I think really the fact that he got to a higher usage role last game is up to 34%. Also was rebounding better. I thought it was the first game he's had since he's come back that he actually looked like himself. Maybe that goes away today, but I'm playing some Siakam on DraftKings. So I would err on the side of, I think he's a decent cash game play everywhere.
Yeah, that's fair. Clearly you say where I'm coming from previously.
Yes, no. Yeah, Eric Pascal, I would say perhaps not the best cash game.
What are you guys talking about? What am I missing?
McGinty MC, cash 4,900 util DK, Gasol or Dedmon or Miles Turner. For me, that would still be Dedmon.
Dedmon. Could be Turner, but Dedmon, 100% not Marc Gasol.
Yes, I would agree there.
Am I missing something on James Johnson?
Like in terms of him not being owned yet? I don't think people are aware of him and the opportunity for him to play point. Like, I don't think people are just viewing it the right way because of all the value. So I think he's probably a casualty of just everybody else.
Like, I get it in that he's not great, but like, he's a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy. He played 28.8 minutes on Wednesday and 29 minutes on Monday, and now they are without people.
Yeah.
Like, for him, he can't be unowned on FanDuel. That's impossible to me.
I agree. I think he's worth some exposure too, but I think it's just one of those things where people get hit by the influx of information and sometimes one guy falls off or more than that on today's slate.
We have Nerlens Noel projected for 73% ownership and James Johnson projected for 0.
That's also because everybody knows that about Noel, where if he's starting, you play him. Like Eddie always beats it into the ground whenever he gets a start. And, and for good reason, because that's one of the edges that you have is when you slam dunk Nerlens Noel in there when he does get the opportunity. But I think it's not the same case for Johnson, where he does underperform sometimes. So I think people maybe view him as more of a risk.
I might look really dumb coming out of this. And James Johnson might just be owned more than this by the time we get there. If James Johnson is 0.1% owned, I'm going to be very happy with the 20-something% that I end up with. I'm sure he'll go out there and put up 8 fantasy points, but I'm very happy to be getting guys on the Heat today.
No, I agree. I think that's a perfectly fair take. And whenever somebody's going to be that highly owned, I mean, we are talking about Noel being almost 75% owned on FanDuel. If you can get James Johnson to get even close to that upside at I think a slightly cheaper price, it's not a bad situation for tournaments for sure.
That's a spicy meatball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to get this crunch in.
Got 3 minutes left to lock, guys, so start getting your lineups in. And if you haven't hit that like button yet, do it, because we are sacrificing our own quality of play today for all of you. But that's the name of the game here. But we appreciate you guys. So show us a little love back, because we're all trying to make this work as best we can. And we'll all have good luck because of me having the hair of a 5-year-old girl today.
You do have the hair of a 5-year-old girl. Don't be proud of that.
What? It's freeing, Josh, when you don't care. I know you always care about aesthetics. We could all see with your prim and proper approach to these shows every day. But, I just going aesthetically unsound today.
Oh all right, I'm letting it rip. It's going to be one of those days where I like my lineup, so they probably stink.
I hope not for your sake. I think you deserve better today.
Ooh, this will be fun. I have 5% TJ McConnell. I don't have Aaron Holiday now that all the news has come out. So I'm sure they're going to cost me $100,000 again. Really excited for that one.
Would that be the most tilting thing in the world?
If it happened again?
Yes.
It would be tough. I mean, it's not like I'm late swapping them or anything now. It won't be the same. There's no way for me to quickly know that it cost me anything this time.
Yeah.
But
are you in on McConnell today, though? I mean, I think he's a really strong play going against Golden State.
I wasn't trying to be. I bumped him up because everybody else just kept talking about him. But I have 5%. I'm not really interested. I have 60% James Harden now.
Woo, that's a lot of James Harden.
I have infinite money to play with.
Yeah.
I got way less Kawhi, which I'm not stoked about. I might have to bump that up a little bit if I can. I don't know if I have the time. I might go to Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time.
I did force my way to some of that Butler and Kawhi and Adebayo and Harrow in a few of these, because I just think that trio in particular, but if you throw in Harrow too, I think that's an interesting little grouping for a game that's going to be, if it's competitive, those guys are all going to benefit.
I'm not going to change it. Undo, Josh. Undo. Cue the Kawhi monster here, but
Shelton Myers asking Rose or Levine, no site given. I think regardless of the site, it'd be Rose, because I think he's cheaper on both, so I would go Rose.
Yeah, I would definitely go Rose.
Yeah, Levine's just a little too expensive right now, and I'm glad that he's not going to be as chalky as we had him earlier, because that was a little bit worrisome for me.
Yeah, I have 30% Rose, which is with the field. I have 10% Levine, which is also close to the field. What games are locking at 7? So at 7 o'clock, we have 2 games locking: Memphis and Detroit, and Boston and Orlando. So I guess we could do a very quick daddy likes just to see how those two go out, and then I'll screw around with my lineups and get some more Nerlens Noel. So dude, we have Tyler Hero projected for 6% ownership on FanDuel. I have 45.
You're making your stands. I
don't even think that's a stand. I'm gonna guess that Tyler Hero's ownership is 20% on FanDuel, but we are locked.
Yeah, we are locked. So let's see what we got for these early games. Whew, we've had some chaotic shows before.
It's a lot, man. Whew, I need a cigarette. I feel bad when that stuff happens, because it breaks everything. And for me to be able, for us to even be able to talk about it, we have to basically stop the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really, I know that I can get to my lineups, but to be able to even give the information of what happens afterwards, step 1 has to be the update. And it just becomes really hard to manage. Derrick Rose, 28% on FanDuel. I'm going to do a little bit of a reverse daddy likes and just hit a couple of the guys that are on FanDuel. Gordon Hayward, 43% owned. I have 56. Cool with that. Johnny Sacks yelling at me now. I ask a question in the live stream for the first time ever, and Josh Engelman wants to murder me. I don't want to murder you, man. But a 3v3 at 654 is just not going to be the one that gets answered on my part. And then, Spags tripped me up with mixed up names and stuff.
Yeah, no. And Johnny Sack, you want to avoid him. He is the king of New York, so you got to be careful there.
I don't even know what that reference means.
Sopranos.
Yeah, never watched it.
Oh my God.
Sorry, man. I was too busy watching One Tree Hill and Dawson's Creek.
The priorities are always important in life.
Markieff Morris, 11% owned. I have 30. That feels, I don't want to say good, but okay. Christian Wood, 10% owned on FanDuel. I have 15. Before that Nerlens Noel news, I had like 70. He was my number one player. I don't even know what he fell to.
Yeah, it's a different story on DK for these guys. Christian Wood, 39%. So he is still the chalk play of the day there, but dual position eligibility, I think, makes him a little more appealing. Kemba Walker, 34. Yeah, that's fair. I'm a little bit above it, so I don't hate it. Marcus Smart, 18. So he got more ownership than Gordon Hayward at 17. I would much rather have Hayward than Smart by a pretty decent margin. Do you agree with that, by the way? Or did you get Smart at all on FanDuel?
12%. He's 5,800.
Yeah. Like Hayward on FanDuel and DK, I think is still pretty appealing. I'm surprised that, I mean, I guess with all the things, but
yeah. Hayward is the same price as Smart on FanDuel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely would favor Hayward in that spot, but even a little more expensive, I'd much rather have Hayward than Smart. He gets a pretty big boost. He gets about 0.2 fantasy points per minute more with no Tatum and no Brown. So
Kemba 28 on FanDuel, Smart 13. I think I'm running out of dudes. And now I'm getting yelled at by Shady and Premium Slack that my trade take was so bad. I stand by it. I'm not in the minority. Go read Zach Lowe's All-Star piece. He picked Trae Young, by the way. But read why he almost didn't.
What was the reason?
Because he's so bad on defense.
He is. But that's on the league right now.
Look, if I give you $1 and you give me 4 quarters back, no one made any money. It's the same thing that's happening when he's on the floor. He could hit all the threes that he wants, but he's a turnstile when he goes down to the other end. All the points matter. All the points matter. That doesn't mean he can't be good. He is an elite shooter and an incredible creator on offense. He'll need help to be like good. It's his second year. I'm not saying that he can't be good in 5 years. That's not the same question as being an all-star now because we think he's good because he shoots threes.
Shelton Myers asking who scores higher on Super Draft, Jokic or Noel. Looks like we have Noel by about 5 points, accounting for the multipliers on there. So
I don't know what the multipliers are, but I can actually give that answer.
Noel's 1.75, Jokic is 1.25.
All right, so Jokic 1.25. Noel is what?
1.75.
I have it 64 fantasy points to Jokic. Wait, Jokic, right?
Yeah, Jokic.
64 to Jokic, 60.2 to Noel.
Yeah, that seems fair. Alex has Noel by about 5, accounting for the multipliers, but yeah, it is close, certainly either way. And I would take the safer play. I think the safer play is Jokic, and I think people get a little too excited on Super Draft to play Noel. So I might be more inclined to go Jokic anyway.
I got 20. Jokic is my highest owned center on FanDuel today.
Let's just finish up the daddy likes here, get through the DK stuff. Derrick Rose at 13%. I have a lot more than that. Markieff Morris at 9%. Fournier fell down to 9% as well. He looked pretty good as value earlier in the day, and now it's completely irrelevant because that's this slate. Aaron Gordon at 8%. John Morant at 6.5%. Not a bad total for him. Don't love the spot fully, but it's not a bad total. Vucevic at 6.4%. Seems like he's got some upside. Langston Galloway, 5.3%. We talked about him. He should be seeing pretty big minutes today. Thon McCurr, 5%. Daniel Tice, 4.4%. He also should be getting a little bit more minutes with no cancer today. Reggie Jackson, probably not worth it with the minutes limit. Jonas Valanciunas could be a slate breaker at 4% if things break the right way. Jaren Jackson, 3. Svi Mikhailiuk, 2.2. Dylan Brooks, 2.1. Terrence Ross, 1.9. Sekou Doumbouya, 1.8. Grant Williams, 1.7. Tim Frazier got up to 1.6. Did anybody play themselves? Can we just... Tony Snell, 0.2%. Josh, what does people do? They played Tony Snell.
They paid the rake.
They did. Thank you for playing Tony Snell on this slate. Interesting move, but shout out to those people for playing him, I guess.
What a day, man. What a day. If we had Russell Westbrook projected for 8.8% ownership on FanDuel. Having 38% of that feels tasty.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's been doing it every single game when it's been both he and Harden in there. I do think this kind of matchup, though, should theoretically give Harden a little more room to excel, but the Westbrook just keeps doing it. He's worth the price that he's at for sure. All right, I guess we got everything here. So, guys, hit the like button before you go. This weekend, just rub my Labrador and got fur everywhere. We appreciate all the support today. We appreciate you guys dealing with us as we try to figure out all the various ruminations and calculations as we go through with the changes coming in. It's obviously a more chaotic slate than we usually prefer, but we appreciate you guys supporting us and sticking with us. So hit that like button before you go. And of course, go check out Super Draft right now. They are having a lot of overlay in their tournaments. Again, the multiplier format is really easy. That's the one way any of these sites you will find where you can actually weigh Nerlens Noel and Nikola Jokic on an even playing field. Only on Super Draft you can do that, where you pick your own dream team of players and all their games over there in the multiplier format. And again, you get yourself $20 free with a promo code OSMO on a deposit of $100 or more. So go right now to superdraft.io or download Super Draft from the app store of your choosing right now. And of course, use that promo code LIV for Super Bowl 54. Of course, we're doing a deal right now. I mentioned it during the show, but take advantage of it for the late slate and for all the content we have going up this weekend. Use that promo code at awesemo.com/join to get 30 days of an all-access pass, every single sport, NBA, NFL, NHL, PGA, MMA, everything you could possibly play. If there's XFL, you get that too. So check it out right now at awesemo.com/join. $54 for 30 days of all the data we have on the site. Josh, anything you want to hit on?
My vape pen?
Maybe myself in the groin if I don't get enough Noel.
Look, I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at today. There's not much that I would want to change. Like, I'd like to have more Kawhi Leonard. I feel like it's a mistake that I don't have more, and I didn't try to fix that. But, like, I'm okay with it. Go James Harden, obviously. And no, I'm not unhappy. I'm really anxious to see what Nerlens Noel's ownership ends up at, and I'm going to be cheering madly for the Miami Heat, apparently, which I didn't want to do. I only got 9% Jimmy Butler, so I hope he's the one that sucks, and somehow that game stays close.
Well, fingers crossed for Josh. Tune in this weekend. You get your old pal EMAC and Fast Eddie giving you all the information. So if there's chaos like this, you'll have Fast Eddie there for you as your security blanket to make you feel good. And of course, EMAC to reassure you and pat your head in that process. We appreciate you guys. Watch all the stuff this weekend. Hit the subscribe button before you go. We'll catch you guys again soon. So enjoy your weekends, and we'll see what crazy hair I wear on Monday. Good luck, guys.